FBI Director Christopher Wray will take questions from senators. This week, 11 Republicans, led by Indiana Senator Todd Young, asking what protocols are being taken at the southern border to bolster security amid increased concerns about the terrorist organization Hamas. Secretary Mayorkas could also make the pitch for passing President Biden's $106 billion national security aid package request, which includes $14 billion for border security. Director Wray could also take questions on accusations some FBI members tried to limit criminal information related to the Biden family. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
And President Biden Monday signed an ambitious executive order on artificial intelligence that seeks to balance the needs of cutting-edge technology companies with national security and consumer rights. The executive order requires that companies report national security risks to federal officials. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Tuesday, we'll break down the latest marauding mayhem in the city of St. Louis, courtesy of David Stokes of the Show Me Institute. Need to have an event? Our good friends at View 17 stop by.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns, whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today. Solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Hey, I'm here with one of our great friends, Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. You know, I talk about all the time who to trust, and trusting a company is everything to me. Why do people trust Connor Roofing?
Well, 30 years of being an honest roofing company that you can call and get an honest opinion on your project. We've got thousands of customers that are very happy that they did call us.
If there's a storm, the shingles fly off the house, first thing you should do is call 314-375-7475. That's how you get in touch with Connor Roofing or ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. I should have been a cowboy. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. I'll go back. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love the station.
90s new country streaming now.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris got a pretty soft ride on 60 Minutes Sunday. Correspondent Bill Whitaker was basically gentle in his questioning, allowing Ms. Harris to dodge her unpopularity in the polls and utter failure on border policy. But that wasn't even important because most intelligent people well understand that Ms. Harris has no answers across the board. As they say in Texas, she's all hat, no cattle. The most interesting part of the chat, which was rather dull, is the timing. The 60 Minutes crew had to know that Kamala was offered because President Biden is in trouble. Whitaker's script focused on how involved the vice president is with the administration's decisions. She's very, very, very engaged with everything, and don't you forget it. The interview of Kamala Harris is network news standard yes, and the White House gain. So let's keep things nice so we can do it again. Y'all come back now, here. But a subtle signal was sent. Kamala Harris is open for business just in case her boss can't make it. Did I mention she is very involved? Back after this.
Every morning, the president wakes up to a top secret brief on America's biggest challenges. Ever wished you were in the room? Of course you have. I'm Mike Baker, former CIA ops officer, and I'm here to give you the next best thing. Welcome to the President's Daily Brief podcast. Every weekday, I break down the day's most pressing issues in just 20 minutes. Get briefed. Stay ahead. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s, and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Shane.
The flow of information
This week on News Talk STL.
Take a look at what's going on.
To get to the bottom.
News, analysis, opinion.
Democracy is messy sometimes.
From the great state of Louisiana and the 56th Speaker, Mike Johnson.
This has been a long ordeal, but I think we finally have the right leader.
101.9 and 94.1.
Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford. The path chosen with respect to Iran means that there's going to be chaos and war in other places in the Middle East.
News Talk STL. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Well, I am back from my vacation, back from Florida, and it's freaking cold here, people. All right. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Really appreciate Susie Moore and Tim Jones filling in while I was on my vacation. If you are interested in how the baseball tournament went, well, we'll talk about that just a little bit later. But boy, we've had a real shakeup in the race for Congress here. Could Cori Bush actually be beaten? Could this be her last term representing St. Louis in the U.S. House of Representatives? Wesley Bell says, I'm going to give it my shot. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But one of the things that is at stake always, not just in Congress, but in the courts, is, of course, religious freedom. And recently we spoke with Danielle Runyon from the First Liberty Institute, and these are kind of the legal eagle warriors for religious freedom in this country. And they are taking up a case of a service member who dared critique the left-wing woke policies of the military under the Biden administration, and he got reprimanded for it. Why does that matter? Danielle explains. And once you're in the military, there are some rights you give up. You part of the job. There are restrictions that those of us in the private sector do not have, and that's part of your enlistment. But can those restrictions and can those rules go too far? I'm now joined by Danielle Runyon. She is a senior counsel with First Liberty, and she's with the Military Practice Group. And Danielle, I appreciate you being on the program. We talked to a lot of folks from First Liberty over the years. And in this particular case, it's a little different because you have a client who is a member of the military, but was not doing something related to their military job at the time. Let's set up the conversation here as to what happened with Jace Yarbrough that led to your all's complaint.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And yeah, let me just say, I guess like the 30,000 foot view, first of all, is that as you identified, Jace Yarbrough was not acting in his military capacity. So while military members, they do not give up their constitutional rights when they join the military, there may be some restrictions or limitations to that are to make their service consistent with what the military requires. However, in this instance, Jace Yarbrough was acting strictly in his civilian capacity, speaking at a private venue for a private purpose, a retirement ceremony for a friend. So that's the 30,000 foot view. He was not in any way acting in his military capacity. Now, there were military members who were present at the event. And what Jace was talking about at the event, he was honoring his friend, a senior master sergeant who had recently retired. It was aboard the Battleship Missouri in Hawaii, which is a private memorial. And there were about 25 people who attended. 12 of those were family and friends who were there, honoring Senior Master Sergeant Fish. Others were part of a Navy quartet. So what we came to discover is that we understand that it was one complaint that was made. We presume that it was made by one of the Navy service members. And some of the comments that were made is that what Jace said was harmful to a group of people. Now, what were they talking about? Well, some of the comments that Jace made, the overview of his speech was that we have to be very careful. We want to honor our Air Force core values, such as integrity. We want to make sure that we're speaking truth at all times, and that there's a concern that this cancel culture where you can't speak your mind and you can't speak truth, such as, in Jace's point of view, men can't birth babies and boys can't go and use girls' locker rooms. So what he was saying is that these are thoughts and ideologies that are being promoted, particularly in the military, and that we have to be very careful. And who he cited was Solzhenitsyn, basically, let the lie come, but not through me. Now, these are totally reasonable things to say. They were consistent with his faith. But then shortly thereafter, he was issued a letter of admonishment saying that basically he was contemptuous in his speech. And that is simply not the case, especially when others, now I just had an op-ed published by the Daily Caller where I cited to the DOD supporting their DEI chief for the education branch publicly on Twitter, making disparaging remarks about white people. Well, she was not issued punishment because, as Cisneros identified at the Pentagon, she was acting strictly in her personal capacity. So why is it allowed? Why is the ideology that is preferred by the executive branch allowed to be spoken, even by individuals in their private capacity, but not other views that are inconsistent with that ideology, and especially when somebody is expressing their faith?
Let me get to a kind of a procedural question. Then I want to go back to that big picture. A letter of admonishment. It sounds like he was not demoted. He was not fined. He wasn't suspended, anything like that. He got basically a reprimand letter. Somebody may say, okay, what's the big deal? It didn't actually involve any suspension or financial penalties. Why still push back against a letter essentially of reprimand?
So actually, a letter of admonishment is, while it's not a UCMJ, so that's the Uniform Code of Military Justice, it didn't cite any UCMJ violation. What happens is when officers receive letters of admonishment, letters of counseling, letters of reprimand, if you receive that type of paperwork more than once, you can be discharged based on a pattern of misconduct. So while he did not receive any sort of immediate monetary reduction or a reduction in rank, it does have the capability of ruining his career, which he's already actually seen. So he's realized and witnessed his utilization being reduced. So for instance, after COVID, even those who are unvaccinated are allowed back in the workplace to be performing their regular duties. Mr. Yarbrough is not. He is performing work remotely, and that's going to significantly impact the performance report that he receives. And our performance reports in the military are used for purposes of getting a promotion, say, 6 or 7 years from the time that you pin on the next rank.
The voice you're hearing right now is Danielle Runyon from First Liberty. Okay, now my understanding is that he was in uniform when he was making his remarks, and I know there's some complexity on the constitutional aspect of that. But is it a matter of he was expressing his faith, or that he was criticizing the actual military in his uniform that could be construed as the reason that somebody got upset? Or is it truly about his faith and his beliefs that were expressed?
It's truly about, so two things. One, it's truly about his faith and his beliefs that were expressed. So Alexander Solzhenitsyn is a Christian. As we state in the complaint, these types of views, speaking truth, that's all a part of Jace's Christian faith. And so secondly, just because somebody doesn't like what you have to say, I mean, we already have Supreme Court case law that talks about hecklers' vetoes. You can't just go and quash somebody's constitutionally protected speech just because you don't like it. So in the instance of where I mentioned previously, the DEI chief for the DOD's education branch, she's saying things in her personal capacity. We're not advocating that anybody, just because we disagree with what they're saying, that their speech not be protected. We all have different viewpoints. And in our Kennedy case, Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, where we at First Liberty, we won at the Supreme Court back in 2022. The court emphasized that we live in a pluralistic society. And in order to be able to advance that and be excited about that and celebrate that, we have to be tolerant of people's speech. We're not always going to agree, but you certainly cannot punish people for their speech that is protected, and you certainly cannot ruin a career over it.
We've just got a couple of minutes left. Danielle, talk about why this matters to all of us who are not in the military, because somebody may say, okay, that's wrong. Jason should not be admonished over this. But that sounds like a military thing they have to deal with. We've got to improve the culture of the military. Why does this matter to the rest of us?
This matters to the rest of us for many reasons. So I'm going to give you 3 instances. 2 are military related, and 1 is related to the public at large. So we saw during the COVID-19 vaccine mandates, there were cases that were brought. First Liberty brought the Navy SEALs case. There was also Doster v. Kendall, and that was the class action case for the Air Force. In both of those instances, now this is on the religious side, we saw that the courts very clearly found that religious rights were being violated. And that was immediately at the preliminary injunction stage, which means that's not at the end of the case. That's at the very beginning of the case to just say, hey, court, this has to stop. Do you agree with us that this has to stop so people can keep their jobs in the meantime while this case continues? Courts found yes. Secondly, a couple of weeks ago, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals case, Missouri versus Biden, where we had general members of the public whose speech was being censored on Twitter and other social media platforms. The court found, again, at the preliminary injunction stage, that it was very clear, overwhelming evidence that the federal government, particularly the White House, was encouraging the censorship of speech because it didn't comply or comport with their viewpoint. And that can't be, and that there's a violation of the First Amendment. So the American citizens should be very concerned. We cannot have our constitutionally protected speech, our exercise of religion, thwarted, hindered in any way. Unless it's hate speech or somebody's doing something that is very clearly a violation of the Constitution, we have to be able to accept and acknowledge people's differences, be proud to celebrate that, and engage in debate. This is the debate, not hate. This is precisely the example of that. It's the example of cancel culture, and every American citizen should be acknowledging that their rights are enshrined in the Constitution, and we can't backpedal on that. One last point that I just wanted to make, because I know you asked me about Jace wearing his uniform. There has to be a whole lot more. There has to be evidence of some sort of coercion. Just because somebody is speaking in their uniform, which he was allowed to do at this ceremony in his civilian capacity, that's according to Air Force regs. Like I said before, it can't just be a heckler's veto. It can't just be somebody disagreeing. There has to be an actual violation, and there was not.
All right. And firstliberty.org is where we're going to find more about what you do. Danielle, any contact information that you want people to have, maybe social media, or to follow what you're doing with First Liberty?
Sure. So firstliberty.org is definitely the place to go. We have lots of updates that'll come out on this case. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We always have various postings about the cases that we have going on that every American citizen should go there to read up on and educate yourself on what your rights are, especially in the religious liberty context.
Okay, firstliberty.org to keep updated. Danielle, thank you so much for being on and bringing this kind of bigger picture explanation to this case.
Thank you very much for having me.
The news roundup coming your way here in just about 2 minutes, 13 seconds on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. News and talk that affects St. Louis.
They've made a mistake of historic proportions. You will exact a price that will be remembered for decades to come.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for lifetime permanent final expense insurance coverage with no medical exam required.
Just answer a few health questions. And once accepted, your rates never increase.
Do you have diabetes, high blood pressure?
Have you had a heart attack, a stroke?
No problem.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial can help protect your legacy.
Call or text 314-866-8886. That's 314-866-8886.
To learn more about permanent lifetime final expense insurance coverage.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for immediate coverage by answering just a few health questions.
Call or text 314-866-8886 or learn more at memorialplans.com. That's memorialplans.com.
Policies underwritten by Senior Life Insurance Company, not available in all states.
Seavers JCB in St. Peters carries a full line of JCB construction equipment to get the job done safer, faster, and better. JCB compact and large excavators are designed to excel where it matters most: comfort, controllability, reliability, serviceability, and performance. Seavers JCB also stocks a large assortment of attachments for smooth and seamless productivity. Check out all JCB has to offer at Seavers JCB in St. Peters and in select Seavers equipment locations in Illinois or at seaversjcb.com.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hi, this is Mark McCloskey. Check out my show, Mark McCloskey on Fire, Sunday afternoon at 5 here on News Talk STL. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, who are you? I'm back, and it's freaking cold over here. All right, I'll whine about that just a little bit later.
Just jump right in there and start whining.
Oh my goodness! All right, get this: Cori Bush is being primaried.
That's awesome.
Get the popcorn. Now, listen, not just primaried; she could lose her seat to another leftist, but still, she could lose her seat. This is fascinating. We'll talk about that throughout the morning here. Also, is the push by some conservatives to cut off any aid to Gaza too much of a reaction to Hamas's terrorist war against Israel? And also, Washington University now faces heat from leftists. See, listen, still, Wash U offers something for everyone to hate.
Equal opportunity.
Yes. I'll tell you why here in just a minute. 5:52. I'm Mike Ferguson, back from my baseball playing Florida vacation where it was 83 degrees 2 days ago.
Oh, go ahead, rub it in.
Oh my goodness. I woke up this morning. I looked down at that thing on my car. It says 30 degrees. And I'm like, why am I here? I was literally looking over the water in my Airbnb and those 83 degrees 2 days ago. All right. Okay. Cori Bush has a challenger that she actually needs to worry about. You know, I mean, it's just accepted that the first district is a safe blue seat, but she needs to worry now about her seat. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell drops his Senate campaign that was certain to lose to Josh Hawley if he got the nomination, and instead he is now running for Cori Bush's seat in the U.S. House.
But over the last several weeks, as I've campaigned around the state
I've heard one refrain from Democrats above all else. We need you in Washington, but St. Louis needs you in the House of Representatives.
I actually have no problem believing that that is what he heard when he was trying to campaign around the state.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 620. Let's make it make an appointment. 620. Let's talk about this. 314-912-1019. That was from his campaign announcement on Monday. Okay, the strike against GM could be close to ending. We don't know yet what that means for the Wentzville plant, which was, of course, the first target of the auto workers union about 6 weeks ago. It's been over 6 weeks ago. Multiple reports say that the latest offer by the company, and basically what they're doing is they're patterning it after the Ford agreement. They say that the offer from the company includes a 25% raise in wages, more vacation time, and more pension benefits, but it does not look like the union is going to get their demand to get all of that and only have the employees work part-time hours as well, which is one of the demands.
Interesting to look at the different deals between the three major automakers.
Yeah. And of course, the idea that they were asking for 40% increases in pay,
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. And only wanted to work 30 hours a week. So they wanted all of this stuff, but we only want to work part-time to do it. So they're going to have to work full-time. They're going to actually have to go to work. If that deal is ratified on that. And it looks like it probably is going to be ratified.
I already saw some new Ford ads last night during the World Series game.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, saying that we have the most part-time employees. The most hourly employees. Let me put it that way. I'm sorry. Most hourly employees.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah. Well, they might. If the union had their way, they would have had the most part-time employees as well. All right. Senator Ted Cruz has introduced a bill calling for sanctions on Hamas as the Biden administration continues to shovel out hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Gaza. Now, Senator Cruz was on Fox Business Network's The Evening Edit with Elizabeth McDonald. He makes an interesting point here.
Under Joe Biden, hundreds of millions of dollars have flowed to Gaza. Gaza is controlled by Hamas, and that money from the Biden administration in a very direct way is funding the death squads, is funding the rockets. We need to cut all of that off.
Cruz is also blaming Biden for releasing that $6 billion in the prisoner exchange, which common sense tells you, because Iran backs and funds Hamas, that led to increases in funding and resources for, Hamas before they unprovoked attacked Israel.
Well, that's what common sense would say.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
Yes. The White House, though, says those funds have not been accessed for anything.
Yeah, it's humanitarian.
Good Lord. All right. Washington University, this is fascinating, is now facing a legal complaint by some students and faculty over their investment portfolio.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. The activists are demanding that the already left-wing university divest from anything related to fossil fuels.
No, brother.
They claim that WashU has about $625 million in stock investments in the endowment fund that are related to fossil fuels. The university, when asked by local media, says, yeah, we're not really sure exactly where all that is offhand. We've got accountants that deal with that. We're checking into that. The university is one of many being targeted by protests and lawsuits over investments like this. I mean, Harvard, Princeton, Penn, all a bunch of them that are dealing with this. The legal complaint claims that the stock holdings are illegal, they're arguing, because fossil fuels are bad and racist or something like that. Complaint has been sent to Attorney General Andrew Bailey, and I'm not going to speak for the Attorney General, but I'm going to guess that his office might get a good laugh out of it.
Yes. Because we are.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Andrew Bailey, who is cracking down on the whole ESG thing, is not going to say, oh, well, this one I'm going after him. Yeah, I don't think so. All right. The Rangers take a 2-1 lead over the Diamondbacks in the World Series last night. Final score in Phoenix was 3-1. You know, unfortunately, this is one of the least watched World Series ever because it's two smaller market teams. But this has been a really fun World Series to watch in postseason overall.
It has been a good one. Game 1 was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really was. Game 4 happens tonight. That is also in the desert. First pitch happens at 7:03 our time. All right. Pro-abortion activists really want to get a win in court in a case that's happening right now. Give it the update just ahead here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Government just needs to step up and do its job.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Democracy is messy sometimes.
We went through several names from the great state of Louisiana, the Honorable Mike Johnson.
The path chosen with respect to Iran means that there's going to be chaos and war in other places in the Middle East.
Number one threat is Hezbollah.
The two-front war would be bad. 101.9 and 94.1.
We cannot give up on peace.
News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
The Vic Porcelli Show. The bee or not the bee?
According to a study, female frogs fake their deaths to avoid having sex.
Well, I don't think it was the bee. I'm going to say not the bee.
That's not the bee. That's actually true. Female frogs, just like human women, fake their own deaths just to avoid having sex.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Nothing short of complete, total victory. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu throwing cold water on the idea of a truce in the war with Hamas.
Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terrorist attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th.
And the Biden administration says it does not support a ceasefire.
Despite calls from the UN, the Pope, and others for a ceasefire in Gaza, the White House doesn't believe a ceasefire is the right answer right now.
We believe that a ceasefire right now benefits Hamas, and Hamas is the only one that would gain.
However, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the U.S. favors temporary humanitarian pauses for aid to be moved in. Greg Clugston, Washington.
In a battlefield success, Israel reporting the death of a senior Hamas commander who the Israelis say directed the deadly October 7th terror attack on innocent Israeli civilians. A woman, her face covered, was allegedly making threats on a train, has been shot and wounded by police in Paris. There is no word on the woman's condition. The Conference Board's closely watched Consumer Confidence Index for October due out this morning, and correspondent Rita Foley says that index may have lost ground for the third month in a row.
Many analysts still warn of new headwinds facing consumers and the economy. Nearly 30 million student loan borrowers had to start paying their loans this month, and government dysfunction in Washington could lead to a government shutdown next month.
Consumer spending is a major driver of the U.S. economy, and that's why consumer confidence is so closely followed. Watching Wall Street this morning, stock futures higher, the Dow futures up 110 points, NASDAQ futures 6 points higher, the S&P futures up 9. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The United States Constitution guarantees every American fundamental rights and protection of life, liberty, and property. Salem is celebrating our founding document with a special offer, a 1953 Oman U.S. Constitution lithograph. To understand the value of these lithographs is to know the story. A master lithographer immigrant named Theodore Oman came to this country to find the American dream. 70 years ago, in 1953, Oman printed a limited number of these exceptional Constitution lithographs. Go to Salem SalemEventsStore.com to read Omen's entire story. America's most important document stands as a testament to all Americans to maintain their liberties, freedoms, and inalienable rights. Buy it and display it proudly. Buy a gift for your family and friends, and for all the teachers in your communities. There is a limited number, so act today. Go to SalemEventsStore.com to get your exclusive 1953 Omen U.S. Constitution lithograph while supplies last. That's SalemEventsStore.com.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s, and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
In a world where heroes walk among us, shines the David Dorn Foundation. Named after a true hero, our foundation empowers those who risk their lives to protect us every day. We stand tall with unwavering dedication to provide our first responders with equipment often not supplied.
But we can't do it alone. We need your generosity of a few volunteer hours to provide our first responders with the tools they desperately need to save lives and keep our communities safe. Visit dornfoundation.com now to be part of our critical progress.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up! Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, scarier than the ghosts, the goblins, or God forbid, Barbie this Halloween. That would be unfettered abortion in the most pro-life state in the United States, because that's what's at stake in a court case that's happening right now. By the way, speaking of the Barbie thing, I was driving back from Florida on Sunday. I just drove from Sunday. I drove up to Chattanooga and spent the night the night before in Chattanooga. Then got back home yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
And I was listening to my, hair 80s metal rock station that I like to listen to on there.
As you do.
You remember the mock band Spinal Tap?
Yeah.
One of the guys in that band still produces some music, and he put out a new song called Must Crush Barbie.
Must Crush Barbie. Okay,
And
what's that about?
It is all about how much he hates the Barbie fad that's happening right now.
Nice.
And
okay, so it sounds like my anthem.
Yeah, so if you look up Must Crush Barbie, then you can find that. They play this song on there. Just want to point.
I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Could St. Louis actually be rid of Cori Bush as a representative?
Real? What?
Maybe.
What?
This could happen.
You just get me all excited at 6 o'clock in the morning, Mike.
She's got a new challenger that she actually must take seriously, because it is possible she could lose her seat in Congress.
Wow.
So
okay.
We're talking about that at 6:20. All right.
So it's possible I could get a less crazy Democrat
Yes.
representing my area. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That would be progress.
And actually one who knows your area pretty well.
Okay.
So I'll tell you about that once again, 6:20. I heard this news. I'm like, whoa, that's a big deal.
Okay.
Very big deal.
I'm excited.
Yep. All right. The court battle over abortion referendums continues this week. So this is being heard in Kansas City, in a court out there. So what's happening, as you know, pro-abortion types, they are really upset with Missouri's pro-life laws.
Yes.
St. Louis wants to spend taxpayer money to help people get women get abortions. So what's happened is between the Secretary of State's office, Jay Ashcroft, and the Attorney General's office, Andrew Bailey's office, they have, and also you could also say the state auditor as well, they wrote language that is brutal on the entire killing industry of abortion.
You mean it actually says true things about it then?
Yeah, it is. Now, it is very, very inflammatory the way that it's written.
Okay.
Now, I'm reading it going, yep, that's the way it is. But from a legal perspective, it's very inflammatory.
Right.
And so the ACLU and a bunch of others are suing about that. And so they're hearing the case in Kansas City. And yesterday, both Secretary Ashcroft, who is actually going to be on this show at 7:35, and Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who's going to be on the show soon. I saw him actually a week or two ago. And he's like, hey, can I come back on your show? I'm like, of course.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So he'll have him on soon as well. But what's happening is they're, of course, challenging those that ballot language, because the judge in the case, Judge Beadham, who's known to be, lefty, he rewrote the entire ballot language.
Now, is that a thing that he's supposed to do?
They're arguing that he's not, that there is legal precedent, and the law is clear that the judge can basically edit some language, but he scrapped the whole thing and wrote his own, and it is far more pro-abortion in the case, because these referendums basically want to wipe out all of Missouri's pro-life laws and put into the state constitution that Missouri is an abortion sanctuary state, essentially.
Yeah.
Is what they want to do. Which is why they don't try to go through the legislature, because the people's representatives would never take that, would never allow that. So they're trying to get this done in the referendum process. And because you've got the left and, of course, the swampy, non-conservative Republican lawmakers like Caleb Rowden and some of the others, that they stopped initiative petition reform in the state.
Yeah.
And so this is what we're dealing with now. Now, my honest assessment of this is that there was no way that language was going to be permitted.
Well, no,
it was.
No.
I mean, it was written to be inflammatory.
It was too one-sided.
It was absolutely it's the right side.
Yeah.
But it was one-sided. And this is simply trying to narrow that window so that when they get approval and they go out and try to get their, hundreds of thousands of signatures they've got to get to put this on the ballot, that they have as little time as possible.
Right.
In the meantime, we have to remind people, basically, there's nothing good on the referendums for 2024 that we've seen so far. So as of right now, you get approached about, please sign this petition to get this on the ballot. My encouragement is to decline and to tell all of your friends and neighbors and anybody else who will listen to decline to sign right now. If there's a good one that comes out from the 2024 campaign season, we'll let you know. But right now, it's bad stuff.
Yeah, basically treat everyone with a clipboard out front of Walmart as like a zombie, and just try to keep your distance. Don't let them get near you. Something bad might happen.
They'll respect it if you just tell them you're socially distancing.
There you go. This would be a good use of your mask. You see them coming, you throw a mask on.
That's right.
And you freak out, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah. So that's where that is right now. And I've got very, very mixed feelings on the idea that they're just sort of using their positions to run out the clock on this. I do think the process should be respected, but basically, when it comes to life and death on something like abortion, we have to do whatever it takes to make sure this is defeated, and making sure it doesn't get on the ballot is a valid tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, the left uses the existing rules of everything against us every once in a while. I think, even if it's bad form, they do it. I think our adherence to the, basically the Queensberry rules of political combat needs to kind of go by the wayside. You need to double leg takedown and pummel them until they're submitted. So that's really what we need to continue to do. So if this is a legal maneuver that we can execute to get what we want on the ballot, or keep what we don't want off the ballot, yes, absolutely, everything, all hands on deck.
So we'll see what happens. I suspect that ruling is going to come sooner rather than later, and then it'll be appealed again, and maybe appealed one more time as well. Okay, it's Halloween, and it's a cold. Man, I was just whining to Stell just a little bit ago. 2 days ago, I'm standing at my Airbnb looking at an iguana over the water that was right behind our Airbnb. I sent you guys the picture.
Yeah,
of,
cute little guy.
He was a big guy.
Was he?
Oh my goodness! From the tip of the tail to his nose, he had to be at least 3 feet long.
Oh, geez.
Maybe
Okay.
3.5 feet long. I mean,
Okay,
that was a big iguana.
They can get pretty big. Kathy had one in her classroom for a few years, believe it or not.
How big was that one?
It was about 2.5 feet.
Yeah, this one I think was a little bit bigger. Even just the body itself. I mean, before you get that long tail, he was, he was probably, 2 feet plus,
man,
in there. That was a big dude.
Okay, all right.
Kathy did the whole thing with the hutch and the lights. You got to have hot lights.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And special food.
They like it warm.
I sent my daughter a picture of the iguana because I just went out there. We were in Cape Coral. And I just went out there in they had one of those bird cage netting things, over the pool and the hot tub.
the swimming pool. Yeah.
Right. And hot tub, of course, because I was in Florida. And
yes.
That's where we were. And I look out and there's this huge iguana out there. And so I sent my daughter a picture, and I don't know how her brain works. And I said, look, I met the neighbors.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I texted you guys with that picture.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, what should we call him? And again, I don't know how my daughter's brain works. She immediately texted back and she said, call him Albertino.
Albertino.
So he became Albertino the iguana.
Albertino.
For the entire week that we were there. So
I love it.
I would send her pictures of the Albertino sightings that we had, which were frequent.
That's awesome. So that was his stomping ground.
Yeah, that was his area because there was a little culvert underneath the concrete there that went underground, and that was his nest area.
Wow.
I saw him when it started to get cool at night, where he'd go back underneath there.
Oh wow. All right.
Kathy's classroom iguana was Green Jeans.
Oh, that's a good name.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, from the old Captain Kangaroo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, keeping the bug population down, so that's why you want him around.
That's right. Oh yeah, no, I didn't want anything bad to happen to him. He was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
All right, Halloween tonight. With it being this cold, especially, I don't know if it's going to be real cloudy or anything, but just remember, you got little kids running around everywhere. My neighborhood is one of those where people drive boatloads of kids to our neighborhood and then just dump them off. I was not wild about Halloween after last year because I would sit up there. Rachel was like, oh no, we got to sit up there because you got to make them like tell a joke or do a trick or something. And she was like all into that. And there were kids that were like, I'd say, okay, go kids, grab what you want. And one kid grabbed the whole thing and dumped it into his pillowcase.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, I'm
one
getting
of those.
a bad taste in my mouth over this. But Rachel's heading up to Chicago today, so she's gonna be gone for the week. So I'm just turning the lights off. I'm not doing squat.
There you go.
Halloween
Yep. Now, typically we would go to the end of our driveway with our little fire pit, and I would move our bench off our porch and sit it right there, and we would sit there with a fire and give candy to the kids. For the last couple of years, we've had like 4 kids.
Oh,
it's just. But then just in the last year, we've had like 12 kids move into the neighborhood just on our cul-de-sac. So they're all over the place. I'm expecting a lot of kids, but with the temperatures though, I'm thinking I'm staying in the house.
Yeah, that's what I may just go find a late dinner somewhere or something just to go.
There you go. Go
That's
hide.
what I do. By the way, according to a YouGov survey, 73% of Americans celebrate Halloween. 73%.
Okay.
The average per person spending is $108 for Halloween.
That's much.
Yeah.
That's a little much.
Yeah.
That's a lot of candy.
Ooh,
pardon me. Decorations, costumes, but the majority of it is on candy as well.
Man.
So that translates to a $12.2 billion non-holiday. It's not even a holiday.
No.
It actually, if you consider it a holiday, it's like the third or fourth most spending that we do in this country on one particular, let's call it a holiday.
We should just call it costume and candy day,
right?
Because that's all it really actually is.
But
we're not celebrating a particular thing.
Yeah,
it's just this is the day you do costumes and candy.
Precisely. It's funny. My brother got both his bachelor's and his master's at Pensacola Christian College, which of course is very, very conservative and kind of legalistic. But they don't allow Halloween on that Christian campus.
Okay.
And
do they do fall festival?
Well, so what my brother did when he was in charge of the boys' the men's dorm when he was there, when he was a grad student, is that he would not violate the rules. He did not have a Halloween event, but he did decide to host a costume party and candy redistribution event.
And call it Reformation Day event.
There you go. Exactly. So,
Happy Reformation Day.
Yay.
So that happened.
Changing society.
All right. 314-912-1019. All right. Just ahead here, right around 620, Cori Bush has a challenger that she legitly needs to worry about.
That's really cool.
I am not kidding.
I'm excited.
Let's talk about that just ahead. We could have a changing of the guard when it comes to Congress in the first district here. Now, does that mean that's going to become suddenly conservative? No.
Oh, no.
But I will explain what's going on. Got some thoughts on that? Let's talk right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
By the way, I got an update from Kathy.
Yes.
The iguana in her classroom was over 4 feet long.
Whoa! Oh, I think that probably was a little bit bigger than this one, man. This one was pretty big. Yeah, that's a big lizard.
That was a big one. I think he dominated the classroom.
I imagine so. Because apparently, if they have cold snaps there, iguanas fall out of the trees everywhere.
That's right.
In Florida. That actually happens. I didn't see it.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Tony Colombo here with a great offer from Zero Res. Just mentioned the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in October, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and 5,000 Google reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 says it all. Zero Res is the best when it comes to cleaning any surface in your home. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education.
Hi, this is Daryl Jones, president of the Herzog Foundation. We have an exciting new training opportunity available for public school and Christian school teachers. The Herzog Foundation Institute has partnered with the Bill of Rights Institute to offer 4 training events in 4 Missouri cities this year. These day-long professional development opportunities are best suited for middle and high school civics, government, U.S. history, and social studies teachers. Middle and high school teachers have a unique opportunity to strengthen civic knowledge and values for the next generation. We want to help teachers seize this opportunity.
Visit herzogfoundation.com/events to learn more and register for a Bill of Rights Institute training event near you. herzogfoundation.com/events. herzogfoundation.com/events.
Now, the Onder Prescription with Dr. Bob Onder.
I'm Dr. Bob Onder. The Jefferson City swamp was on full display the last couple of weeks with revelations about the ethical scandals of House Speaker Dean Plocher. It is alleged that he threatened to fire Chief Clerk Dana Miller if she didn't go along with a sweetheart deal for $800,000 for a new information system that he planned to use to harvest state data for his campaign for lieutenant governor. This week, we learned that over 4 years, he submitted false reimbursements for travel expenses, including a trip to Hawaii. He did this at least 9 times and only reimbursed the state after he had been caught. We expect honesty, integrity, and transparency from our elected officials. If half of what has been alleged is true, Plocher should resign for the good of his district and the good of the state. I'm Dr. Bob, and that's my prescription.
Find more Dr. Bob Onder at bobondermo.com. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Okay, Wesley Bell decides against his quixotic run for U.S. Senate and instead decides to run a more realistic run for Congress, primarying Cori Bush.
Wesley Bell, okay.
Wesley Bell.
All right.
Ring that bell.
There it is.
Yes.
All right.
Isn't there a song?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Ring my bell.
Oh yeah. All right.
Fifth Dimension or somebody? Are you going way back?
Way back.
Fifth Dimension did Age of Aquarius. Did they do Ring My Bell too?
I have no idea.
I don't. Yeah, that's what, late 60s?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Back to news stuff. Joe Biden announces an executive order on regulating artificial intelligence. So when we're talking about Joe Biden and technology, I'm sure that he's hip to all the technology.
It'll go perfectly fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, we've got an expert review of the Biden approach at 6:35. So here's the thing: AI is already changing our lives, whether you realize it or not.
Oh yeah,
that's not an overstatement. You're more of a techie guy than I am. Is that an overstatement?
Not at all.
No.
Actually, it might be a little understatement.
Yeah,
it's going to change the future of humanity forever,
whether we like it or not.
Yes,
that's what's happening. And so this is a big deal. You need to hear this. So in about 12 minutes, we'll have that conversation. All right. That's Gabe. That's Stell. I'm Mike. So Cori Bush, are her days in Congress numbered? As I mentioned, Wesley Bell, St. Louis County prosecutor, who is in that seat because he pulled off a massive upset in a Democratic primary, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now running for Congress for Cori Bush's seat in the 1st district. So KMOV did a story on this yesterday, and they interviewed a political science professor from SIUE named Dr. Tim Lewis. And here was just part of his kind of assessment.
First, it was always a long shot that Wesley Bell would be able to upset Josh Hawley and take that Senate seat. It is probably a more viable option for him to run for the House of Representatives. Now, though he says this is what the constituents of Missouri want, we'll have to take his word on that. But there has been some negative feedback against Representative Bush, and that has been compiling as her time in Congress has been untraditional. And I think that Wesley Bell is capitalizing on this moment.
Okay, so that's a very, very academic way of saying even Democrats don't like her.
Yeah.
However, Democrats tend to support incumbents that they don't like.
That's true.
Because they're loyal to the brand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That you're right. And that's the power of incumbency that we always have to recognize.
Yeah. And as one of the other things is that I think a lot of Democrats also know when somebody is hurting their cause. If you really want to look at the national scale here, Cori Bush is really good for Republicans.
Yes. We can fundraise off of pretty much everything she says.
Mm-hmm.
If she gets in front of a camera, you're going to get a soundbite. You're going to get a quote that you can use in a fundraising email or a campaign commercial about how crazy the left is, the Democrats are, and it'll rake in the dough.
Deion Broxton was doing the story that I just pulled that soundbite from for KMOV, and here's another clip from that.
Wesley Bell says another issue he has with Bush is her continued support for defund the police, which regained steam following George Floyd's murder in 2020.
That defund the police, it not only was misguided, but it hurt Democrats.
Okay, so here's the thing. Wesley Bell, and I don't know him well. My wife is a friend of his. I mean, I'd say I'm an acquaintance of Wesley. He was actually at my wedding. Believe it or not, he was one of the guests at the wedding. I know Wesley. I've interviewed Wesley a number of times. He is not as extreme fringy far left as Cori Bush, but he's pretty liberal.
Yes.
I mean, remember, there were some pretty radical groups that were funding and paying for advertising for him against McCullough back in the day. But he's not insane. So you've got an insane leftist in Cori Bush.
Or dumb.
Yes, she really is dumb.
She's dumb and insane.
Wesley's not dumb.
At the very least.
Yeah.
And he's not insane.
He's not insane. He's not dumb. There's very little I'm going to agree with him on. There's some things I will. But he is a very, very credible candidate.
Yeah. I would take a Wesley Bell over a Cori Bush any day of the week from any corner and on all fronts.
So how do you think that Democratic voters do? So when you look at the 1st district, you've got the absolute insane BLM, anti-Israel, everything crowd. I mean, the absolute hardcore Marxist crowd. So I think we're about to find out whether or not they control the Missouri Democratic Party, because the bulk of the Missouri Democratic Party is in St. Louis.
Yeah, that you're exactly right. And St. Louis County is going to have basically a referendum on how crazy their constituents are too, because Cori Bush's antics are very, very well known. Now it's entirely possible though that they do the whole devil you know versus the devil you don't situation. I'm not sure how well known Wesley Bell is. I mean he's in an elective office
Right.
for the county, so he should be at least a somewhat known commodity. But this is basically going to test whether or not the Democrats are either paying attention or are crazy enough to continue to go with Cori Bush.
And this will be Ferguson versus Ferguson.
Yes, that's right.
Because of their personal history with the town.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, because Wesley kind of came to prominence because he was a city councilman at the time, and so he was kind of the conduit between the feds and the city, trying to keep basically the city from being thrown completely under the bus. And I say the city, I mean the city government,
right,
on there. So he did a lot of work. You can agree or disagree with what he did, but he was involved heavily in that. Whereas Cori Bush was just lying about the protest, and everything,
about being shot at by white supremacists over a hill or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's her whole history on this. But get this: this Dr. Tim Lewis in this news article from this piece by KMOV also had an interesting take on some of the numbers.
According to latest numbers, she only has just under $20,000 in cash on hand, and she has almost $130,000 in debt, and that's really not a place you want to be at. On the other hand, Wesley Bell is in a much more viable position. He has about 4 times as much money cash on hand, and he has 0 debt. So he's coming into this in a very strong financial position.
Okay, now that makes all the difference in the world. Actually, now that information has been thrown in the mix, I'm not sure Cori Bush has a chance, because apparently she's been spending so much on her private security that she hasn't had any left to campaign. So yeah, all right, yeah, you're gonna keep saying defund the police. You're going to keep paying for your financial security, your security detail run by your boyfriend or husband or whatever. Then keep grifting, and I think you'll grift yourself right out of a job there.
It really comes down to, will the Democrats in the 1st district, will the Democrats in the Missouri Democratic Party, are they going to decide that they want to not be embarrassed and keep hurting the rest of their party around the country?
Yeah. I mean, it's how do you as a party leader in this local area say, okay, yes, Cori, we'll pay off your debt and then fill your coffers so you can run against the much more reasonable person who isn't going to give our opponents sound bites every time they open their mouth.
Yeah, and just be nuts.
Be nuts.
I mean, an anti-Semitic, just absolute hateful bigot.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what she is.
Yeah. I mean, by her own words. If you judge her simply by her own words, that's what you get.
Yeah. All right, 314-912-1019. All right, artificial intelligence, really cool stuff you can do with a lot of it out there. Really scary stuff it can do to us. But the Biden administration says, don't worry, I'm on it. I'm passing executive orders for regulation. Let's find out what that means, because this does affect our lives, whether we like it or not. If you're like, I don't give a crap about AI, well, you know what? It affects you. You definitely want to be listening. We got one of the experts, one of the national experts with us here from the Competitive Enterprise Institute, right around 6:34 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
By the way, I looked up Ring My Bell.
Yes.
1979 disco hit.
79.
From Anita Ward.
Oh, yeah, Anita Ward. Yeah, Anita.
I'm surprised you didn't have that cranked up.
Way to go.
In your car. On
Oh,
the way down to
yeah.
Florida.
It was, the Anita channel.
Yeah.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Would it be wise to strike Iran? Fred Flight's an expert CIA security consultant on that issue today.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michaels Flooring Outlet.
Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peter's. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns, whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today. Solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
It's time that everybody wake up and pay attention.
Live and local.
Recent criminal indictment of Donald Trump.
About the fourth one.
The fourth one.
Yeah, the one he got the free gift with.
Punch
I
card.
think it's a tote bag.
This is News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
I was on my iPad late last night, needing a tool to expedite. ChatGPT was fast and wise, saving me time. To my surprise, it was a hack. It was an AI hack, the monster hack. Don't be taken aback, an AI hack. You'll be leading the pack, the monster hack.
And I have got your back.
So if you're lost in the digital haze, let AI guide you through this techie maze. With ChatGPT, get your goals in sight. You'll conquer the web with pure delight. It was a hack.
And of course, President Biden says, I'm here to save the day. Here's an executive order. We're going to regulate AI and make sure that it doesn't, harm us, because for all the great things that AI can do and frankly is doing already, there's also some really scary stuff that it can do as well.
Besides, intelligence and Biden don't go together.
Exactly.
It's even bigger than that, though. Matter of fact, just a week or so ago, I did a story on my American Viewpoints. I did an interview on that. So if you're checking out podcasts, just look up American Viewpoints with Mike Ferguson. I think that's the most recent one on there right now, and you can hear that conversation as well. But we're joined by James Brohl from the Competitive Enterprise Institute right now. And James, first of all, thanks for being on the program, because I know this is bigger now. When we talk about, we can make all the jokes in the world about, is Joe Biden really going to be hip to all the technology, especially artificial intelligence? And obviously he's not. But here's part of what he's saying when he announced his executive order regarding artificial intelligence regulation.
In the wrong hands, AI can make it easier for hackers to exploit vulnerabilities in the software that makes our society run. That's why I'm directing the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security, both of them, to develop game-changing cyber protections that will make our computers and our critical infrastructure more secure than it is today.
Okay, big words right now there, James, but what is it that the executive order is trying to accomplish?
Well, essentially, it's trying to do everything. I mean, this is the longest executive order I've ever come across. It's more than 100 pages, and it directs dozens of regulatory agencies across the entire government to do a variety of different things related to AI. In some cases, they have to draft regulations. In other cases, they're going to draft guidance documents for industry. In other cases, they're going to draft guidance for themselves. And so, a big part of this will be the federal government having to learn the basics of artificial intelligence and catch up with all this technology that they're way behind on. But they're also moving forward with regulations in some areas, like we just heard on the clip, related to national security and defense and so on.
Morning, James. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So it sounds, I mean, on the surface, that sounds all reasonable. It does sound like, you know, the federal government having so much technology integrated in the way they do business on a regular basis, especially if we're talking intelligence and military applications, should be on top of AI capabilities and should be ready to defend against AI based attacks and all the like. But I always get the feeling, it gives me the heebie-jeebies when the government says, hey, let's regulate something. So what is there anything that we should be worried about inside this this executive order?
Sure. So, I mean, it's very common for the government to kind of jump the gun on regulation and decide we need to regulate this technology, and there will be some proposals floating around, and they'll just move forward with those proposals without really thinking about the problem they're trying to solve. And so what some of these requirements do is they're assuming from the outset that things like the number of parameters in a model or the amount of computing power that a model is running on, that these are the best indicators of risk. And so they're going to tailor regulations towards models that fit those criteria. And that could be wrong. There really isn't evidence that they're basing that decision on. They're just starting out with that assumption. And then they're going to issue regulations that say, all right, you need to start revealing all of the data from your safety testing to the government. And there are legal questions surrounding that. There are questions about whether that would discourage safety testing in the first place, if you're going to have to turn over all your data. And so there could be unintended consequences from these policies.
If you go to CEI.org right now, you can find this blog post: Biden EO on artificial intelligence rushes in with regulation rather than problem solving. That is CEI analysis. And so you can check that out at CEI.org. Before I get to I think my main question here, James, which has to do with, okay, for those of us who are still kind of catching up to the technology, and I'll put myself into that category, I've used ChatGPT. I mean, I've used the technology to some degree, but I want to ask you in a minute here about why this matters to everybody, because there are people who say, I'm tuning it out. I don't care about AI, not my thing, but this does affect us. I want to follow up on something you just said when you talked about the federal government rushing to catch up to understand what's happening. How can they simultaneously write regulations and catch up to the technology at the same time? That seems like a recipe for disaster to me.
Right. Well, our model of regulatory procedures it was based on a 1947 law called the Administrative Procedure Act, and it's very slow. And it's really not designed to respond rapidly to technologies that over the course of just a few months change very rapidly. So we're dealing with a very outdated regulatory process, which isn't fit for the 21st century. So the way that agencies often respond is they just throw out guidance documents. They go out basically paperwork that doesn't have the force of law, or they'll go out and give speeches, or they'll threaten companies. And increasingly, this is the way that governance is taking place with these regulatory agencies, trying to find these informal ways to control the private sector, which is moving more rapidly than it can keep up with.
Why do we care about this? I mean, if we don't understand AI, we don't understand all the ramifications, why does this matter to each and every one of us?
Right. So AI is going to really revolutionize countless industries across the economy. It's going to revolutionize healthcare in terms of the discovery of medical procedures and drugs and diagnosing illnesses. It's going to revolutionize finance by, rapidly providing information about the market and stock prices and giving recommendations to customers. It's going to revolutionize education. Already we're seeing teachers can't give the same homework because kids can just type something into ChatGPT and hand it back. So we're going to probably have to move to oral exams or just other modes of education. Jobs are going to be, some jobs are going to be lost. Other jobs are going to be made massively more productive, like programming. You just, rather than spend 3 hours writing a piece of code, it takes 10 seconds and ChatGPT will write it for you. So this is going to have huge ramifications across the entire economy. If we don't get it right, innovation will be slowed down, but even worse, our biggest competitors like China, even bad actors in places like North Korea, they're going to get the advantage. And already we're seeing places like Europe drive innovation off the continent, well, America runs the risk of doing the exact same thing.
Good morning, James. Talponticus here. My question is, couldn't they get ChatGPT to put together an executive order shorter than 100 pages?
It's a good question. I mean, you need one of these PDF AIs, reader AIs, just to summarize it, because honestly, it's impossible to read. It's unreadable. It's just bureaucratic jargon.
So I realize that these are efforts to put guardrails on AI. Do you think it's going to do any good?
I think probably in some areas it will do good. I mean, there's undoubtedly areas like, facial recognition where, there's questions about, especially government use of facial recognition. I mean, there are bias and discrimination concerns. Sometimes the AIs pick up on bias in human content, or they have trouble distinguishing between people of different races to different degrees. And so there are legitimate concerns about this technology. There's legitimate risks of bad actors getting a hand of, recipes to construct, bioweapons in their basement. And so, the technology companies are aware of this. They're trying to limit it. And the government is right to focus on this issue. It's an important issue. It's just a question of whether they can keep up.
James, are there any kind of rules of thumb, good principles versus bad principles that should be adhered to as governments try to keep up with AI regulation?
Absolutely. So we have about 100 years of experience with regulatory agencies in Washington issuing regulations, and best practices have evolved during that time. And there are things like tailor the regulation to the particular problem at hand, make sure you're identifying a real problem and you're not just responding to some anecdote that popped up in the news, and consider a variety of different alternative solutions to address that problem in a cost-effective way. And so these principles are well agreed upon. They're bipartisan. They're really not controversial, but we're not seeing any of that kind of thinking behind this new rush to regulate AI.
Okay, we're visiting with James Bruhl from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. James, this executive order obviously affects what happens, I guess, with U.S. agencies and how they regulate technology companies, but this isn't going to affect what's happening in China. And you mentioned North Korea and some of the others. I mean, it seems to me that we're almost in a cyber arms race when it comes to this kind of technology.
This is very much a national security issue. China is already using technology like facial recognition, surveillance on a pretty widespread basis to surveil the public. And they want to be a major player in this area. And it's very important with respect to weapons systems and the future of warfare. And so we really can't afford to fall behind on this. It's not just a matter of whether the chatbot works a little better or not, or how expensive it is. This is national security that's at stake. And so there's really no messing around with slowing down innovation at this space. We have no choice but to move full steam ahead.
All right. The blog post / op-ed is Biden EO, meaning executive order on artificial intelligence, rushes in with regulation rather than problem solving. And you can find that at CEI.org. Gabe, can we post that on our social media as well?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put that up on ours as well. James, people want to follow what you're working on. You on any social media, or we just find you on the web?
I'm on Twitter, James Bruhl. So last name's BROUGHEL, and I'm on CEI.org. You can find me at my page there and my research.
All right, and we've already tagged you on our social media as well, James. Hey, appreciate the information on this, because it's really, really complicated, and not all of us understand the technology, but understanding why it is important is something that we should be able to do. So I really appreciate the help on that.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, James.
314-912-1019. This is a big freaking deal.
It really is. There are so many applications for AI, the uses of AI, that we haven't even touched the surface of the capabilities of this thing.
There's a guy by the name of Joe Allen, Allen, who just put out a new book. I think it's out, called Dark Aeon, spelled AEON. And he goes into the whole AI and transhumanism connection. And it's a little bit scary.
Transhumanism is a bizarre thing. Somebody falls into that, they are halfway gone, man. But it's amazing with the increase in technology, how many people are falling into that.
Oh, that they want it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a concept, it's actually something that's possible.
You say, oh,
yeah.
Well, it's Halloween. I guess today's the day to tell me stuff like that.
Not the full level of transhuman. Yeah. We're not talking about Lawnmower Man stuff, I'm talking about basically chip integrated AIs.
Yeah. So maybe Edward Scissorhands.
Maybe
Not
Edward
quite
Scissorhands.
Lawnmower Man, maybe Edward.
Maybe Edward Scissorhands, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Okay, 314-912-101. He's James was 100% right about, like, my wife's a university professor. She has had to already change how she does testing.
Yeah.
In her student, all of it. She did the first one this semester, like a third of her class was caught using AI.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man. All right. Just ahead here. Halloween, how's it changing? It's different than, man, I think it was different than when I was a kid. Let's talk about that. Just ahead, right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Mom, what do you always say? There's nothing sadder than jewelry that sits in a drawer. That's why we are proud to offer jewelry repair on site at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. We know that your jewelry is important to you, and we take that part of our job very seriously. Visit us at Doherty Ferry in Big Bend or learn more at wowdiamonds.com. Diana from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers here to remind you, we don't just offer the best pieces, we offer one of the last master hand engravers in our country. My father can create timeless, personal, and unforgettable pieces. Come by our showroom at the corner of Big Bend and Doherty Ferry or learn more online at wowdiamonds.com.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
You know what, Ken? Look, Vic, I fear for Joe Biden if he ever ran out of wishes.
Wish.
You know?
That would be horrible.
Somebody needs to start a foundation.
Wish.
What would you want to call it, though?
So if he doesn't have enough wishes, for just 18 cents a day, you can help this forgotten president get his wishes. And we can call it the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Wish.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Pumpkin scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween. Everybody.
Hello, Morgan Freeman here with a Halloween tip. Trick-or-treaters love candy, but they also love reactions to their costumes. If you see a ghost, say, "Oh, scary." If you see a witch, say, "Please don't cast a spell on me." And if you see a devil, drop to your knees and say, "I offer you my soul, Dark Lord, and look forward to joining you in the searing flames of hell." The look on their little faces is priceless.
Oh, no.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, no. And the parents, what did I just... No, you can't accept any candy from this house.
I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus.
It's just like when Morgan Freeman says it, it just, you know.
It just sounds so down, homie.
Oh, my goodness.
Get behind me, Satan.
The funny part was when I found that audio.
Yeah.
I'm actually picturing somebody doing
doing it. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And the little kids now scared to death looking at their parents like, well, what do I do?
He's like, what am I supposed to?
All right. Halloween, like I said, a $12.2 billion with a B dollar day right now.
Oof.
By the way,
so much candy.
By the way, just hey, mark this on your calendar. Okay. November 8th coming up. That is the next debate.
Okay.
That's going to happen. Far fewer candidates are going to be on that debate, but we will be hosting the watch party for St. Louis. This is going to happen with, we are partnering with Americans for Prosperity, Missouri, and also the St. Louis County Young Republicans. chapter. This is going to be a lot of fun. Once again, like a lot of these events, there is going to be food, free food. So we need to know how many people are going to be there. So get your ticket, register for that. You can do that at Americans for Prosperity's website, but really the link is on newstalkstl.com. And the tickets are free. So go ahead and reserve yours and be there November 8th. This is going to happen at the Westport Playhouse. And doors are going to open at 6 o'clock. Program's going to start at 6:30. We're going to be there. Chris Arps, Tim Jones will be there. And of course, we are going to have our friends from Americans for Prosperity there. This is going to be a great discussion, both before the debate. We're going to watch it live. We're going to kind of wrap it up afterwards. So that's really going to be, I think, a fantastic, enlightening day. Let's see here. We're going to have Vic Porcelli and Colombo and Katie reporting on air with the debate itself. But this is going to be a lot of fun and a big deal. And so join us at the Westport Playhouse on November 8th. Okay, still ahead. Could the Wentzville striking auto non-workers be headed back to the job? Maybe. We're going to talk to Stephen Moore at 7:05, get the update on the impact of the possible deal that's happening. Okay, there is an interesting because we do surveys about everything now.
Yeah.
YouGov did some surveys on Halloween.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting. About a third of Americans think Halloween is more widely celebrated now compared to when they were kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
About a third think it's less celebrated, and about a third say, no, it's just about the same. I would be in that third that thinks that Halloween is a bigger deal now than when I was a kid. But then again, it was never a big deal in our house. Now, I did trick-or-treat a few times when I was a kid. I don't think I trick-or-treated every year, but it was just not emphasized in my house. So maybe that's just my own projection but I think it's a bigger deal now than it was then, but I could be completely wrong about that.
You know what? From my perspective, I don't know if you'll agree with this, you guys,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it's changed a lot because I remember when I was a kid, it was Superman, Batman, Casper the Friendly Ghost, and pumpkins in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really about it. And the candy. Now it's become very demonic in my estimation over the last 10 or 20 years. You drive around neighborhoods and you see skeletons and all sorts of really scary looking caricatures that are out on the lawn. You got the big blow up stuff, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But you've got the kind of serious looking stuff. There's some in our neighborhood that when we drive around and we go, whoa, that's a little bit over the edge there with a lot of demonic looking stuff.
I think it's even beyond that too, because I think that, and I'm sure this happened in the 70s and 80s and I was just not around it, but it has become more sexual.
Oh gosh,
as
yes.
well.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
You know those Facebook memory things that pop up? One popped up for me yesterday. Because was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday because I was having dinner with my mom and my wife, and one of those Facebook memories popped up. And when I was, gosh, I don't know, it was probably 15 years ago or so, I was commenting on, I went into a fast food place and some college girls had come in because there was a college nearby, and I was commenting on basically how they looked like prostitutes.
Oh yeah.
You know, at the time. Now, I'm sure that happened in the 70s. I mean, Hollywood started doing all that part in the 30s or 40s because Halloween's really been the push to make Halloween a big deal in America really goes back to Hollywood about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
From what I could tell on this. But I do think that has changed. I do think it's fair to say it absolutely has changed.
It's got sexual and demonic, and it's become a really, really big deal. I mean, for the most part, and I didn't do too much trick-or-treating. My neighborhood wasn't the type of neighborhood you would go trick-or-treating in, and Dad was usually too tired to take us to another neighborhood to do this. So, but for the most part, at least at school, we'd have our little Halloween parade, right? So the kids would walk around. You know, I'm talking little kids. We'd walk around in our costume. We show off our costume. I mean, I went as Optimus Prime one year. I had the little store-bought smock that goes over, and the half mat, the plastic mask.
Those things were awful.
with the terrible, you couldn't breathe, you couldn't
breathe in
see.
those things. Your eyeballs were sweating. Those were terrible.
And that little rubber band that went around your head always broke.
Yes.
So I had a little survive, Transformers, and it was a very, it seemed like a much more simpler time. You dressed up in a silly costume, you get some candy. Now there's other stuff. There are other elements going on. A lot more older people are, I think, getting into it more, in a weird way than they used to. It's I think it's changed.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, of course, still, the most popular costumes this year are gonna be like Barbie.
Well, sure.
But I actually saw a news story. I think it was KSDK's, that website that said, hey, be careful not to get your edible marijuana gummies. Make sure those don't end up in the trick or treat thing. I'm like, oh gosh, 2023 Halloween here.
Look at those Juji fruits. Sorry, those are not
those. Why is the kid tasting colors now? That's what's going on. But by the way, to the point you were just making, still, they did another survey. 72% of Americans think it's just a harmless, fun tradition. 14% of Americans think it's harmful that we celebrate Halloween.
I think overall, it in the old school way of doing it, I don't think it was that harmful.
No, I don't think so.
These days, it's a hit or miss.
I think it's what you make of it.
It absolutely
is what I think it is. So, all right, just had Stephen Moore going to be with us, give us an update on all things economy, and will the non-workers go back to work and start making cars again? We'll find out.
News, analysis, opinion.
We cannot give up on peace. We cannot give up on a two-state solution.
Another morning marked by death and destruction in Gaza City.
Our maneuvers are going to take the war into their territory. This is News Talk STL.
Police are currently searching for a Robert R. Card.
18 people lost their lives.
Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We're thrilled to be here.
And newstalkstl.com.
Well, it's fall, y'all. Time to give Hanson's Tree Service a call this fall, 636-379-1830, 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com. Fall is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds with that fantastic organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's. What else should you do? How about clear out all the overhanging trees, get rid of all the old stumps, generally clean up the homestead as we head towards Old Man Winter. They're standing by to help you today, 636-379-1830, or 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Rallying his people in time of war, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu hoping to rally Israel's friends in the West as well.
It is time for all of us to decide if we are willing to fight for a future of hope and promise, or surrender to tyranny and terror.
The Prime Minister insists Israel will not give in to demands for a ceasefire. He likens the Jewish state's position to that of the U.S. in the immediate wake of Pearl Harbor and 9/11. The Hamas attack on Israel and Israel's response in defending itself seems to have brought anti-Semites out of the woodwork worldwide. In Russia, a flight from Israel was attacked upon landing. Now, Moscow has tried to blame Western intelligence.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the West had nothing to do with Sunday's airport rampage, and he criticized Russia's Vladimir Putin for not doing more to condemn the violence.
This is just hate, bigotry, and intimidation, pure and simple. And a good leader, a decent leader, would call it out for what it is.
Kirby called Putin's allegation against the West classic Russian rhetoric.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. The last operating prison ship in the U.S. is closing.
The Vernon C. Bain Correctional Center is a 5-story jail barge. It's docked in the South Bronx in New York. It arrived in 1992 as a temporary measure to ease overcrowding on Rikers Island. Now the roughly 500 prisoners on the ship will be transferred to Rikers. In September, one prisoner jumped from the top of the ship to his death. Last year, a 24-year-old inmate died after contracting a form of treatable meningitis while in custody. I'm Donna Warder.
On Wall Street, stock futures in positive territory at the moment. Right now, the Dow futures are up 50 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 11, and the S&P futures better by 9. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Don't Mess, the new movie by Dinesh D'Souza. Police State.
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. MAGA Republicans threaten the very foundation of our republic.
Are we becoming a police state?
The government is trying to crush the conservative movement, our society, and our freedoms.
They define you as radical. How did we give the state this kind of power?
If they're coming for me, they're coming for you.
Police State. Buy it or stream it now at policestatefilm.net. policestatefilm.net.
Police in Bangladesh.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Ackerman Toyota has the 2024 models. You're going to be impressed. Check them out in person at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44. In fact, you've got to see the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. Very impressive. This is the time to buy and get top dollar for your vehicle. Looking for pre-owned? Ackerman Toyota can also help you. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life.
Hi, Chris Arps here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks in Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event will take place on Tuesday, November 14th at the Factory in the District in the Chesterfield Valley. Hear from the experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2024 and beyond. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by sending an email to emails@royalbanksnet.com or by calling 314-212-1545. Royal Banks, Missouri, the community bank that is in your community.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple thought Darian. Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, union strikes, funding Hamas, trying to pull our economy out of the crapper.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too technical for people, but pulling the economy out of the crapper.
Yes.
That's all on the agenda, name. By the way, just ahead here, could Cory Bush actually lose a safe Democratic seat in next year's election?
Oh, God, please make it so.
It is possible.
Yes.
720. We're going to talk about that. I've got the update on the challenge that she's now getting from a fellow liberal. And so basically it's, do you want the liberal who is unhinged and insane and anti-Semitic and bigoted like Cory Bush? or do you want your pretty much run of the mill, normal leftist Democrat? So those are the choices that Democrats are going to have to make. Do they want to be insane and crazy and hateful, or do they just want to be leftist?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The normal lefty or crazy lefty.
7:20 is when we're going to have that conversation. It's 7:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson, back from my Florida vacation and already complaining about the cold weather, but that's for another day. Got Gabe here, got Stell here, now joined by Stephen Moore. Stephen, first of all, great talking to you. I want to ask you about the effect of what appears to be a deal with the auto workers in the bigger picture. But first, if I could get you to respond to this, here's President Biden making kind of a real quick response to news that there could be a deal possibly ratified in the next week or so.
They want a record contract with over a 30% increase in wages, greater retirement security, and more paid leave. And the commitment by the big three to create more full-time middle-class jobs and invest tens of billions more dollars in plants and factories building automobiles' future here in America.
So the union's not going to get their desire to just have their people work part-time for all of those increases, but it looks like there may be some deal. How do you assess what's at least on the table from what we know?
Well, let's start with, why there was this strike in the first place. And it's clear that, the auto workers lost a lot of money in Biden's first 2.5 years in office. I mean, they were huge frontline victims of the massive inflation. Remember last year, the inflation rate hit 9%. And I guarantee you, none of these workers were getting a 9% pay raise. By the way, that's the similar situation for almost all of us. We all lost a lot of income in Biden's first 2 years in office because of his catastrophic, massive trillions and trillions of dollars of government spending. And so my point is they have a reason to be agitated, those workers. Now, I'm in favor of workers getting the highest possible pay they can. I'm always rooting for American workers. However, I think it's important to realize that the auto companies, Ford and GM, have made a horrific mistake in both of them basically saying they're going to go all in for electric vehicles when car buyers have been saying for 2 years now, we don't want electric vehicles. 90% of American car buyers don't want them. By the way, I'm not against electric vehicles. They're fine vehicles for people who want them. But what's happening is that Ford and GM are listening to the politicians, not their customers. And that is a recipe for disaster. You saw that Ford lost $40,000 for every electric vehicle they made, and yet they're going to plow forward on this. I think it's a fool's errand. And by the way, if they continue to make cars that lose money, then guess what? They're going to have to lay off workers.
Good morning, Stephen. Gate 5 here. That's actually where I wanted to go with my questions about the EVs. I'm also seeing some numbers now where they're really taking total cost into consideration and saying that EVs cost the equivalent of $17 plus per gallon as opposed to a normal vehicle.
I had not seen that, by the way, but I'm not surprised. I'd love to see that that statistic.
Yeah. So there seems to be not a lot of data supporting the idea of changing over wholesale to EVs, yet the Biden administration keeps pushing this. How much of the automakers are responding to government mandates as opposed to simply going all in ideologically?
Well, it's both. You're making a really good point. It's both the fact that the government is mandating them to make these cars, but also the automakers, Ford and GM, have basically said we want to go all in for EVs. They think that's the future. Who knows where the future is? But right now, look, I talk to auto dealers around the country, and they're telling me their lots are full of EVs, and people come in and say, where are the gas cars? Oh, we don't have any because the factory's just sending us EVs. Look, Americans have a love affair with their cars. We have for the last 75 years. You're not going to have the government telling people what kind of car they're going to buy. People won't buy a car if they don't want it. And so it's time for these companies to start listening to their customers, not the government. Now, here's the other point, and you were touching on this. There's no evidence that EVs are cleaner for the environment. Mm-hmm. Come on. Where do you think the electricity comes from, folks? I mean, wake up.
Cool.
I'm not trying to insult people. Yeah, no, it comes from fossil fuels. We get 70% of our energy from fossil fuels. So all you're doing is, instead of it coming out of the tailpipe of your car, the pollution comes out of the emission plants. So it's a mythology that somehow this is going to, change the temperature of the planet if you buy an electric vehicle. Now, look, again, I've driven Teslas. I think they're great cars. They're a lot of fun to drive. If people want to buy them, why can't we just have why can't we get the government out of the way of this and let the market decide what kind of cars people are going to drive and what kind of cars the companies are going to build?
Good morning, Stephen. Sal Ponticus here. So is it fair to say that these union agreements will increase car prices by hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars?
Probably. I'd love to see some innovation, on the part of our auto companies so that they can, lower prices. It's interesting to me that Toyota is not even American, Toyota is a Japanese company. They're the one auto manufacturer saying, we're not going all in for EVs. We're not going to do that. We're going to buy, people want two types of cars right now. They want hybrids. Hybrids are very popular, but they're not making those yet. And people want old-fashioned gas cars. And there's reasons for that. If you're driving a lot and you're driving longer distances, an EV, what are you going to do? Stop at and wait 45 minutes to recharge your battery every couple hundred miles? I mean, it's just not a very practical thing to do for all sorts of travelers. So we'll see. By the way, I think people are missing the real innovation that's coming in autos. It's not electric vehicles. It's automated cars. Those are coming, and you're gonna, in 5 years, you're just gonna get in your car. It's gonna drive you wherever you want. They're much safer than having, people. Most of the accidents on the highway are due to human error. So I just find it fascinating that we've diverted our attention from the real reform that's coming, which is these automated vehicles, which you won't have to drive yourself.
Could you imagine trying to do the movie, The Cannonball Run today, except do it with electric vehicles?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, people are dumb, though. I mean, liberals are dumb, I should say. They keep thinking that somehow, you have to use energy to drive to power a car, right? And whether you use the gas to produce the electric power, or you use the gas directly in your car, you're still using energy, folks. And how much? Here's the thing that I find dangerous about this. What the left wants to do is place the entire energy system of our country, that is used by our technology companies. The cloud use huge amounts of energy, steel, cars, factories, construction projects, blah, 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 and then of course, all the transportation. We're going to put that entire energy system on the grid. That's really what happens what happens in California, where they have brownouts and blackouts. You're not going to be able to drive your car. You're not going to be able to hoop your home. It's just that we should use all sorts of forms of energy, not just put. And by the way, the grid is already stressed out, right? Yeah, you've seen a lot of states have these brownouts. It's a really dangerous situation.
We're visiting with Stephen Moore. Stephen, let me, before we let you go here, tap into your experience from the White House. Obviously, what happens in foreign policy affects the U.S. and economy, particularly with Hamas's unprovoked war on Israel, their war to defend themselves. How is the White House, I guess, is there a, for lack of a better term, is a delicate situation being created by the president? Because on one hand, he's saying the right things. We're going to stand with Israel, showing, showing some military support with the carrier group, but at the same time saying, but the top priority is getting aid into Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas. And of course, we question whether this all could have happened had that $6 billion not been released, that they say is not being used. So when you look at the Biden administration's handling of what's happening in the Middle East, we cannot understate how much of an impact this has on the entire world. How do you assess the way that he's trying to deal with that tightrope right now?
Well, I've said for 2.5 years now, including many times on your show, that one of the most insidious policies I've seen, in the 40 years I've been doing, economic policy, is Joe Biden's war on American energy. And it's important for people to understand this didn't happen by accident, folks. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, and I know a lot of people have very different opinions on him, you got to love the policies that he put in place. And we had a policy from day one of making America not just energy independent, but energy dominant. And we were the energy dominant country in 2019 and 20, thanks to the Trump all-in policy of producing as much oil, gas, coal, nuclear, whatever we could do to not be dependent on countries like Russia and Iran and OPEC. In fact, how many times do you recall us talking about OPEC when Trump was president?
Almost never.
Yeah, never. Because how can you have a cartel when the number one producer of energy is not part of your cartel? That was in the United States. What Joe Biden has done is unforgivable. Not only has he cost Americans jobs and caused the price of gas at the pump to go up from $2.49 a gallon to $3.89 a gallon because of his crazy war on American energy, but he has also put money directly into the hands of the terrorists. I want to say that again. Biden's policy has put tens of billions of dollars right into the hands of Hamas, the Iranians, and don't forget about the other big winner in Biden's war on American energy has been Putin. I don't think there's any way in hell that Putin would have ever even marched his troops in Ukraine if it had not been for the United States dismantling our energy policy. So yes, Joe Biden is culpable for what is going on in the Middle East right now in these attacks. Those missiles and rockets that have been fired on Israel were funded by petrodollars that should have never gone to them in the first place.
Absolutely. Now, just to wrap things up here, the Texas Public Policy Foundation is the one who came up with that study that I mentioned. And now, to be fair, they had contributions from Exxon and Chevron. So, but they included in their calculations the cost of U.S. government subsidies. So there's a whole thing there with that study. So check it out.
Yeah, look, we have I want people to realize this. We have a $380 billion green energy slush fund that was put into the federal budget by Joe Biden and the Democrats. I didn't say 300 million. I said $380 billion for all of these green energy projects, which are producing about 7% of our energy. By the way, the oil and gas industry gets no subsidies whatsoever. They actually pay taxes. They don't eat taxes. So from a fiscal point of view, we're making a big mistake. Why not here's my energy strategy. Let's get rid of all energy subsidies, all of them, and let's let the market decide whether we use nuclear or oil or gas or coal or wind or solar. Why do the politicians have to make that decision? Because every time they do, they make bad decisions.
Yeah, but they get more control over it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all about control. And by the way, one last thing on the way out. If we're going to provide, Biden wants a ridiculous, preposterous $100 billion in this aid package, which is outrageous. We're running a $2 trillion deficit. But if we're going to provide any money for Israel, for Ukraine, for Hamas, for the Palestinians, every single penny of that, I wonder if you guys are with me on this, every single penny of that should be paid for by cutting other government programs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yes, there's so much there to cut. It is insane. All right, Stephen Moore, we've already tagged you on our social media. I get your newsletter every single day, but go ahead and let's get that website out.
I love doing your show. When I talk to my friends in St. Louis, they say, oh yeah, I listen to you on Mike Ferguson. So it's fun to be with you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephen. We'll talk again pretty soon because unfortunately, there's not going to be any shortage of things to complain about with the current administration.
All right. See you guys later. Have a great day.
Thanks, Stephen.
Happy Halloween.
And to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
All
By
right.
the way, have they abolished Halloween in St. Louis the way they have in like New Jersey is saying that this is not fair to people to have it's not inclusive to have Halloween.
No, but the closest thing to us is Jacksonville, Illinois bans teenagers from trick-or-treating. That's the closest restriction we've got.
What's this world coming to? Now, the next thing they're going to do, they're going to ban Thanksgiving.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
See you guys.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. All right. 314-912-1019.
We can't celebrate colonialism, Mike.
That's right. Yes, precisely.
The colonizer.
But the turkey tastes good.
Yes.
Even though, we took somebody's turkey, I'm sure. All right.
They gave it to me.
Just ahead here, could Cori Bush actually lose her seat in Congress? The answer is yes.
Yay.
I will explain how and why just ahead right here. 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to yours. indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
Columbo and Katie.
What sounds better to you, Congressman Wesley Bell or Congresswoman Cori Bush? That's the question for St. Louis voters, and we'll talk about it Tuesday with Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
You had to do it, didn't you? You had to turn on the furnace because it's cold out there, 30 degrees overnight. And if you have any worries at all, I was actually at a restaurant last night. It was obvious it was the first time they turned on their furnace because it was so freaking loud that you could barely hear the conversation, which means that restaurant should be calling my friends at Anton's to get their furnace tuned up and make sure it's ready for the cold weather. It's going to get warm again here after a few days, but then we're into the cold weather for 2 or 3 months. Give my friends at Anton's a call today, 314-338-3941. You can also reach them at antonshvac.com. When you go onto the website, there's a chat box right there. You can schedule your appointment online. You can get your questions answered. They're really, really good about that. It's a really cool website as well. But they are taking appointments right now for your furnace tune-up. Make sure that it's ready. Maybe you just need the ducts cleared out. Maybe you just need the, the filters changed. Maybe you're good to go. But if you aren't, and if your furnace was starting really hard, shaking your house kind of thing, then you need to get the experts over. Doesn't matter who built it. Doesn't matter who installed it. They can take care of it for you. So give them a call, 314-338-3941. Listen, Anton's installed the HVAC system in our house, in Rachel and Mai's house, including a brand new system we had put in just not even a year ago on our upper level of our house. And it turns out that the furnace and the central air were installed by Anton's years ago for the rest of the house, even before Rachel and I got married. And so they've done a great job. I could not be happier with that HVAC system. Slept in complete comfort last night, even though it was really cold and it was warm not too long ago as well. They've done a great job for my house. They've done a great job with their customer service with us. You should have them do your home as well. Matter of fact, you can get your furnace tune-up right now for just $89. It is worth it to get that peace of mind. And if they find something that needs to be fixed before it breaks down, it'll save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So once again, 314-338-3941. Trust your home to the people I trust my home to. And that is Anton's Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Energy Experts. Once again, 314-338-3941 or antonshvac.com.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Now Mike has done it again with his My Slippers, and the folks at My Pillow are having an early Christmas slipper sale. The original My Slippers regular price is $139.98, but for a very limited time, they're offering these slippers for just $39.98. They come in a variety of sizes and colors. Use a promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com or call 1-800-645-1392. The My Slippers are designed to be worn indoor and out. They are made with My Pillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. Plus, they feature quality suede leather. Unlock this special offer and other savings by using the promo code ONFIRE at mypillow.com. Once again, that number is 800-645-1392, 888-645-1392, or you can go to mypillow.com, use a promo code ONFIRE, and get your special discount today.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson.
If he could hold her so close in his arms.
All right, Cori Bush gets a surprise challenger in the Democratic primary, and yes, she could lose.
Absolutely,
It
she
could happen.
Yes,
It could happen.
I am so excited. This is the best news in like weeks, Mike. I don't know if you know this.
And it's not like we're saying that, there's a great chance that a conservative Republican is going to get in that seat.
Oh, no, not a chance at all.
I mean, it's not like there aren't credible candidates out there who can do some good by running, but that's not what we're talking about here.
And I am writing this down on my prayer list.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. There you go.
Lord, please let Cori Bush's challenger win.
Kick her to the curb.
Yes, please.
All right. Speaking of elections, News Talk STL, we are teaming up with Americans for Prosperity, also the St. Louis County Young Republicans, and we are hosting the next presidential debate watch party.
Yeah.
This is going to be a blast, my friends.
Going to be huge.
November 8th. And so we're going to be there. Tim Jones, Chris Harps are going to be there. Of course, here on the air, Vic Porcelli and Clem O'Cady going to be reporting on that. But if you join us out at the Westport Playhouse on November 8th, it is, by the way, free. We are going to have food catered by Drunken Fish. That's going to be free as well. There will be a cash bar as well. But get your ticket. It is free. But we do need to know how many are going to come out so we can get the right amount of food out there as well. So
that's
go
important.
to newstalkstl.com is where you get more information and to get the link to get your free tickets as well. So go ahead and get them now. This thing's going to, there are a certain number of tickets we can hand out. This is going to be full.
Yes.
It's going to, we're going to fill the place.
And it's a week from tomorrow night. So it's not like it's far away.
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming up fast, isn't it?
Man, that week and a half I was gone. I was thinking that's forever. No, that's coming right up.
It's a time warp, man.
This is going to be probably the most consequential debate because it's going to be really narrowed down.
Yes.
Because I got to do that checklist because I really unplugged from a lot of the news when I was on vacation. And first time I'd really done that. And so I got to go through the checklist and things. So when I left you guys, we didn't have a speaker. Do we have a speaker now?
We got a speaker now.
We got a speaker now.
Yeah.
When I left, there was still a strike going on with the auto workers, so you guys didn't fix that.
No, sorry
As
about
well.
They're working on it.
We tried.
They're getting there as well.
And we had the seven dwarfs for the
That's right.
debates,
Precisely.
which I think is down to about 3 or 4.
Well, yeah,
now.
okay. So that's the other thing. I want to check on Mike Pence's campaign. How's it doing?
He decided not to.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, never mind.
He punched
All right.
out on that.
So he won't be there.
Nope.
But it looks like there'll probably be 4. Who's going to be there?
Yeah, at this point, it seems. Because Ramaswamy's, he seems to be not.
He's faltering.
Yeah,
but I knew he was going to tail off at some point. But he's added a lot to the discussion. I just think he's had his moment.
Well, he qualifies for this debate. I think he's deciding not to do it.
Yeah, that's gonna be fascinating to see whether he does or not.
Yeah.
So
we know Asa Hutchinson's out. What was the other? Burgum.
Yeah,
Burgum is out.
Hopefully, with fewer contestants, they'll have chances to expand on their answers.
Yes.
That's actually why this is going to be consequential.
I think this is going to be consequential. So November 8th, newstalkstl.com. All right, we've got to get to. We're going to talk to Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft here in a few minutes. Get this. Cori Bush gets an unwelcome surprise yesterday.
Yes.
Wesley Bell says, I'm not going to run for U.S. Senate after all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to run for the U.S. House. He is primarying Cori Bush.
Yeah, buddy. I think that's right. It's a right move for him because there was no way he's going to make any sort of traction. He might make some money in that, he getting a lot of contributions from around the country, but it's still going to go nowhere. It's going to go to ads that are going to do nothing. Essentially, he's not moving the needle on that.
He was probably not the front runner for the Senate nomination for the Democrats. Now, I think he could have won that. Lucas Kuntz has been basically campaigning since his last miserable failure of a campaign. So he can get the nomination to have another miserable failure of a campaign because he's going to lose to Josh Hawley.
Sure.
But Wesley Bell can win this primary.
Yes.
And if you think, there's no way Cori Bush is so well established, She beat a guy who had been in that seat for 150 years. Okay, maybe 20 something.
It felt like 150.
For a long,
Yeah.
she beat Lacey Clay, one of the most established Democrats in Congress. So it's not like voters in the first district are afraid to toss out an incumbent.
True.
And Cori Bush has made her entire reputation on I'm the most fringe, I'm the most radical, I'm the craziest, nuttiest one. So we're about to find out if the Democrats are okay with that or if they'd like to be taken seriously again in the national conversation.
Cori Bush tried lying that she's co-sponsoring a bill to bring back the hostages from Hamas, and they community noted the crap out of her.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It's like this woman it's impossible to. Now listen, Wesley's very liberal, but he's not nuts. Jay Ashcroft, just ahead here on 101.9 News Talk SD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s, and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Vincent's Jewelers can help you pick the best gift for someone special. Another reason I like Vincent's has helped raise more than $1.5 million for local charities. Vincent's, locally owned, serving the community more than 42 years. Whenever I'm asked, what's your favorite jewelry store? My only jeweler is Vincent's on Olive, east of 270. Give Vincent's a chance to make you happy. Check for daily specials. Vincent's Jewelers Facebook or vincentsjewelers.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
The cries to kill Jews and destroy Israel are being echoed around the world. Some of the latest from Moscow. A plane lands, people rush onto the tarmac, demanding if there are any Jews on board, wanting to see their passports because they want to slaughter them. And then, of course, don't forget in our own House of Congress, we have members voting against a resolution condemning Hamas for killing innocent civilians, beheading babies. 9 Democrats voted against it. Then we have the normal Hollywood elites coming forward. Actress Angelina Jolie saying, I plead that we stop this. We need a ceasefire. I care about the babies killed and the horrors committed in Israel, but we have to stop bombing. We have to stop bombing Gaza. She says that's the only way we can save lives. Well, comedian Amy Schumer, Jewish herself, not one of my favorites, but her line I will certainly echo this time. She says, why do you call for a ceasefire instead of for Hamas to simply surrender? That would end everything.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than 4. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than 4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Columbo and Katie.
These things happen. You can't predict them with specificity, but you can know that they happen. And once they do happen, it is too late to prepare. But even the Israelis, Iron Dome usually protecting all of their towns and cities from most of the stuff that comes in, even they were caught by surprise. The world reminds us to take these issues seriously.
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Colombo and Katie. Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. And my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash.
All right, we know St. Louis City has been cooking the books when it comes to crime statistics. So why is this bigger than just a disagreement over numbers? Going to get to that in just a moment here. Also, obviously, I'm back. My Florida vacation is over, and I'm now cold because it's 30-some degrees here. But I'm going to update you on, I had a lot of fun down in Florida. Let you know how the old man baseball tournament went. And I met a wild iguana.
Yes.
That hung around.
Yes, and he has a cool name.
Yeah, my daughter named him. So we'll do that. Let's talk about that right around 7:50. Joined now by Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. And Secretary Ashcroft was a co-author of a pretty hard-hitting op-ed that, of all places, the St. Louis Post-Disgrace actually published it. And it's called St. Louis's Experiment with Local Control of Police Has Failed. And we'll get into the solutions to that just a minute. But Jay, appreciate you being back on the program here. Let's talk about what we're actually talking about, because St. Louis City says, hey, and look at this crime stats. Our crime is actually going down. It's better than it was before. And yet it's not.
No, and you can't trust the St. Louis City crime stats because they don't report all the data. They have been alleged to, and I think it's been proven to, that when multiple crimes happen, they try to attribute them to just one crime to make their stats look better, but not actually protect the people of the city of St. Louis, and that's got to change.
Good morning, Jay. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So where do we go from here? I mean, local control is in it, so do we revert back to the state?
Sadly, yes. I'm a big fan of local control, but when local control is refusing to do their job and serve the local population, you can't just stick with what isn't working. The people of this state, in every area, in every city, in every county, deserve to have a government that is providing public safety. It's one of the core responsibilities of government. We've seen some improvements. Obviously, the getting rid of the old circuit attorney and having Gabe down there has helped, but we need to support our police. We need to protect them so that legally they're not in ridiculous lawsuits that don't matter, and make sure that they have the salaries to be competitive so we can hire them. We need to make sure they have vehicles and equipment to do their job. That requires the state to jump in.
I want to go a little bit deeper into the specific solutions here in just a minute or so. Obviously, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft running for governor as well. But I also want to kind of look again, Jay, at when we talk about the city kind of cooking the books. A lot of times somebody can say, okay, well, your accountants are disagreeing with their accountants when you look at the spreadsheets. This is a much, much bigger issue than just, I don't like your numbers. I mean, when you are presenting that public safety is improving when it is actually not, that's incredibly dangerous in addition to being disingenuous.
It's dangerous to the city. It's bad for the state. And it's so bad that there are times when the FBI has said you cannot trust the statistics we publish about St. Louis because they have even not just cooked the books, but for months at a time refused to give data on crimes. There's just, 3-6 month periods where no crimes appeared, I guess, because the city didn't report any.
And of course, you just mentioned Kimberly Gardner being pushed out of office. We're already seeing the backlog of cases. They're not just chipping into it. They're taking big bites out of that. They're not caught up yet, but nobody thought that Gabe Gore was going to be able to do that in 6 or 8 months anyway, but they're making remarkable progress on that. But he can only prosecute what's brought to him. So when it comes to equipping police, one, you've mentioned the recruitment, the salaries being competitive. We've got a massive problem with responses from the 911 system as well. You also touched on the equipment. There are some police officers who were telling us and telling other people, like Jane Duker has told us, there are some cars that are being held together Literally parts of it are being held together with like duct tape and crime tape and things like that because they can't get new vehicles in. Some new vehicles are coming in, but we've got a police department in the most violent city per capita in the country who are saying we are not equipped to go to battle with some of these bad guys here. If the state regains control of the police department, and let's say you're governor, how do you direct those resources, whether it's executive or leading it through the legislature, to get those things done? Because it's going to have to happen really fast.
There's some things that are going to have to be done through the legislature. You're correct. There's also the ability to request more resources from the state. And then, of course, there's the allocation of resources. And the city of St. Louis has been, well, here's one example. When the state controlled the police, there was a facility just for doing maintenance and repair on the police vehicles, and city vehicles were dealt with at another maintenance facility. Once the state left, the city said, you know what? Let's defund the police, but let's hide it. So we're not going to take this money away from them. We're just going to get rid of the facility that repairs city vehicles and now make the city police repair facility with the same amount of resources deal with all the city vehicles. So there's a resource allocation problem when police officers can't actually be on the beat because they don't have a working car because their car is behind some other city official that wants to get their car detailed. That's ridiculous.
There's also a matter of recruitment. We're short on dispatchers, and we're short on officers to run these beats. Jane Duker has reported on many occasions there's been one or maybe two officers to patrol all of downtown. So how do we fix that issue as well?
Some of that's going to be a salary issue. Some of that's going to be a resource issue with how they're allocated within the department so that they know that they're taken care of, so that they know that they have the equipment they need. Some of it also is a legal side. They need to know that when they do their job and they do it correctly and people come after them, the legal side of the city will stand behind them and make sure that they're not unfairly punished.
Yeah, that's huge. That is absolutely massive. The op-ed at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch's website is Walters and Ashcroft. St. Louis's experiment with local control of police has failed. We just touched on the legislative aspect of this. We are just about 1 month away from pre-filing starting, so we're going to get kind of an early look at what the 2024 legislative session is going to look like. What should the priorities be for Missouri's legislature and obviously Missouri's governor as well?
Real educational freedom, real criminal justice reform. And by that, I mean putting the people ahead of the criminals and making sure that the law-abiding citizens are safe and are not fearful, and that criminals are in prison. And of course, getting the size and scope of government under control. It's doubled in the last 7 years. No one I talk to says in their house they have twice as much purchasing power as they did 7 years ago. We got to reverse that.
All right. And also, I know that you were in Kansas City at one of the court hearings regarding the referendums, the pro-abortion effort to basically wipe out all Missouri's pro-life laws that have been put into place. You and the Attorney General were both there. Can you bring us an update on where that case is? So for those who are, just kind of getting caught up, the pro-abortion folks want to put some referendums on the ballot that would wipe out all of those pro-life laws. They don't like the language that you wrote for that ballot initiative. And so that's what's being challenged right now. Where is that case right now?
That's at the Western Court of Appeals for the state of Missouri. The judges took that case under advisement yesterday. I would expect them to render their decision today or later this week. And that is all about whether or not the people of the state will truthfully know what they're voting on if those initiative petitions are on the ballot. The original court did a terrible job, will end up misleading the people. And I'm just going to fight to make sure that people know what they're really voting on if it's on the ballot. That's the right thing to do.
I've been in this business for a long time, Jay. I don't know that I've ever heard of a case where a judge deleted the entire language and rewrote it from scratch. I've heard of judges, tweaking things here and there, but I've never heard of it completely being rewritten. And what they were arguing is they were saying that your language was not neutral, basically, is what they were arguing.
Yeah, and it's inappropriate. The judge
never even referenced the original initiative petition. It wasn't that my language was that crazy or out of spec. It was that the initiative petition goes that far. So my language had to be honest and go that far to explain what it was doing.
All right, and then the website, social media, we've already tagged you on Twitter as well as some others. So people want to get in touch, follow the campaign. What's the best way to do it?
At J. Ashcroft Mo on Twitter, Ashcroft for Mo on Facebook, or Ashcroft for Missouri online. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, Jay.
Thanks,
Hopefully
Jay.
we can see you at the. We'd love to have you at our debate watch party coming up in early November. Oh, I think we already lost it.
Oh, okay.
All right, yeah, he's in demand. What can I say? All right, so for Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, obviously running for governor as well.
Busy man.
Yeah, but the thing is that when it comes to police, one of the things that he said that was so crucial, I think that doesn't get talked about enough, is that when you look at police officers, just knowing that the system will have their backs when they make an arrest.
That's a big deal.
Of a violent criminal suspect.
Yeah.
Because there are officers who are saying, well, I got a good arrest right here. I can collar him, but they're never going to prosecute him. And then I'm going to waste a lot of time. And so I'm just not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't stop or address or answer a call when it comes in, if it comes in, but just knowing that their prosecutors are going to actually prosecute, that they are going to be backed up could be massive. That's one of the reasons so many officers are leaving, because they know that somebody will have their back and they will not be criticized for just doing their job.
It's one of the intangibles. I mean, because the thing is, if you are going to put your life in danger, it's like, okay, every time an officer goes into an encounter with a criminal, there is the possibility that it can escalate into lethal violence, and they could be on the wrong end of that equation. So you say, okay, I could do this and possibly not go home tonight, and the guy I collared won't won't go to jail. He'll get out. Right. You're not taking those risks anymore. You're not putting yourself on the line, even though you volunteered for it. But why do that? Why go out of your way to basically to push the rock up the hill if it's going to come right back down?
Yeah, this is what happens when you have pro-criminal policies.
Yeah.
In a city hall or in any government. That's what you get.
Absolutely.
You get more criminals.
Yes.
All right. 314-912-1019. All right. Obviously, I'm back from Florida.
Yeah.
Sadly. It was perfect.
How you liking the weather?
But I tell you one thing. We had this conversation a couple weeks ago. Somebody talked about how do you not go crazy? And I said, you do have to just unplug and decompress for a little while. And I did that this week.
You were out.
I will also tell you how the old man baseball teams from St. Louis did in the World Series.
All right.
That's just ahead right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL, and find out the name of a big iguana that we found as well. That really happened.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey, Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 1019, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I'm here with Dr. Howard Wall. Howard, we're hearing a lot of debate over inflation, but just to back up a little bit, what is inflation?
Inflation occurs when the economy has too much money chasing too few goods. That extra money sloshing around has to go somewhere, and it ends up as higher prices for just about everything.
So what does transitory inflation mean?
Well, there are temporary things like pandemics, wars, and such that restrict supply and raise the prices of sensitive goods like oil. But the root cause of sustained inflation, like we've been seeing, is money. As happens when inflation sets in, fingers are pointed at corporate greed and price gouging, as if those things rise and fall with the economy. Don't be fooled. Loose money got us into this mess, and only tighter money will get us out of it.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then. It's a big intro, but this is a good song.
It's worth it. Yeah.
It is. Mike and the Mechanic. All I need is a miracle.
On News Talk STL.
We stretched to get to that.
That's what you have to do in music radio.
Yeah. All right, I'm a little bruised. I'm sore. Scraped up a little bit, but I'm back from Florida, and I already hate the cold weather.
All you need is a miracle.
That's true.
Yeah, you crossed the border and you immediately cramped up from the cold.
All right, don't forget News Talk STL's podcast on demand listening. Of course, we had that conversation with Jay Ashcroft just a moment ago at 8:05. Gabe Nadalis from Our America. He's got some thoughts on, remember, Wallet Hub a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, basically said, here are the statistics. Here's how we measure the safety of a community. And St. Louis came in as the least safe community in America per capita.
Right on the bottom.
So he's got some thoughts on that. So you can hear that conversation we had with Jay. We're going to be able to talk to Gabe here in just a little bit as well. All right, I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here and got Stel Ponticus here as well. We had that conversation a couple weeks ago, and it turned into something. I had a lot of people around town say, okay, that was fascinating, because we ended up saying, listen, you have to unplug sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, whatever it is that gets you worked up, good or bad, you've got to unplug to have that balance.
Right.
Sometimes. And it was funny. We were joking a little bit about, because I always do those, promotions and teases at the beginning of the segment. And we were talking about the streaming app that you have, the News Talk STL streaming app.
Right.
And I said, I could, when I go on vacation down in Florida, I could take that with me.
Yeah.
I could listen every single day, but I'm not going to.
You're not going to do it. Not going to do it.
And that got a big laugh, and
as it should
on that. But I really unplugged. I mean, I probably didn't know about the new speaker for close to 24 hours. And I do.
That's
I
funny.
do this for a living.
That's
I had
funny.
one of the guys in the dugout, literally in the dugout, say, "Hey, what do you think of that new speaker of the house?" I'm like,
"What new speaker?"
Don't know much about him, but right now I'm more worried about that pitcher out there, because I went down there, played in the the Old Man Baseball World Series tournament.
That's so cool though that you have that opportunity yearly, right? It's a yearly thing.
3 out of 4 years.
3 out of 4, yeah.
Because presidential election years.
Yeah, that's true.
That tournament is right around election time.
Yeah,
so
it gets rough.
I don't think I'm going to be able to go next year to it, because the tournament's right around the same week.
But it's a good time for you to just kind of get away. It's funny because I continue to tag you in all of the social media posts, which I'm just keeping up your numbers, your engagement numbers, and your mentions and all these other things. But you checked none of it.
No,
I'm sure you checked none.
I think it was Thursday was our day off. We get one day off a week during this tournament. And Thursday, I'm like, I'm going to get back on Twitter and just see. And there were all those notifications. So that's great. Thank you very much.
I'm surprised you didn't tell your buddy, I like JBL speakers in my house.
Yeah. We had this Airbnb. We kind of splurged on it. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. It was right there on the canal in Cape Coral.
Nice.
There's Fort Myers and Cape Canal, or
Cape Coral.
Cape Coral,
That's right.
that are right next to each other. We were in Cape Coral this time around.
Oh,
Normally we
yeah.
stayed in Fort Myers. Beautiful.
Mhm.
Had the whole bird cage with the pool and the
With
hot
the
tub.
swimming pool. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Oh yeah. When that hot tub was a lifesaver playing
Yes.
in those games. Temperatures were in the mid 80s all week.
Oh.
And so this morning I get up and look at my weather app and it says 30.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
That 50-degree swing is
2 days ago, I was standing there in 80 some degree weather.
You know, we joked about it yesterday on
Yeah.
Friday afternoon when the front came through. On the maps, it showed 85 degrees in St. Louis, 44 in Kirksville.
Oh, my goodness.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that
Yep.
was amazing.
And then it caught up to
Yep.
us.
Yep.
So we had 3 teams in St. Louis, had 3 teams in that tournament. My team got farther than anybody else's.
Oh, good. Okay.
But we did not win the championship.
Right.
We got to the semifinals.
Yeah, if you won the championship, you'd be coming back with new ink. That's
well,
what
that's right.
that's what I hear. That's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
hear.
So years ago, I was talking with my family, and I mentioned that it's really hard to win a championship in anything in baseball, no matter what level you're at.
Mhm.
And I'd mentioned I'd never won a championship, and if I ever did, I'd definitely get the ring. And my daughter, who has lots of tattoos,
Yeah, that's one of her
and
things.
She was like, "Oh, you got to get a tattoo,"
To
because she's
commemorate.
been trying to talk me into it. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. If I ever win a national championship." Well, I was in the semifinals this week.
Yeah. Oh wow. Oh, you got to the semis.
We got to the semis. Now, the funny part is because we had a losing record.
Mhm.
And so what they do is they have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. 4A is like guys who used to be professionals.
Yes.
I mean, a really high quality ball.
Mhm.
We knew going in that we had a very difficult schedule. Other than one game, our schedule was really, really tough.
Mhm.
And we played everybody really, really tough. And so we did well enough. We were in the 1A bracket, which is where we thought we were going to be.
Sure.
Because it's only our second tournament as a team. And then we actually drew a bye in the first, and we beat Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
Beat them pretty handily too.
Nice. All right.
And then we ended up losing to Tidewater, Virginia, who ended up winning the championship.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys got that close. Missed it by that much.
We went to a time limit after a big rally against a team that won the 2A championship.
Oh whoa.
And we also ended up coming really close to a team that was in the 3A division.
Oh
So
man.
we played really well. I think we made you proud, St. Louis.
All right.
And I was happy with how I played as well.
Also the lizard.
And the iguana, I forgot to mention that. His name is Albertino.
What happens next?
Citizens of Israel, we are at war, not in an operation or in rounds, but at war.
Happens right here.
Hamas entered our communities. It was the worst nightmare ever.
250 Israelis are dead. The next stage of this operation will be the response. Let's make no mistake. This is an Iranian-backed assault and war.
1019 and 94.1.
My administration's support for Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering.
News Talk STL.
I want to share something special with you. I've told you how Wellington Environmental works to keep hospitals, schools, businesses safe for their patients, students, clients, employees. Wellington can do the same for you. Perfect example. A relative went to the basement, almost knocked over by the smell. A sewer line had broken. A call to Wellington, a crew was dispatched. First thing, make the home safe. Then clean up the mess. Truly clean it up. Now, I'm telling you this because I want the best for you. Wellington Environmental. Here's the number, 314-644-4930. 644-4930. AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. 644-4930. Wellington Environmental. Your world. Cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. He has been taken off the battlefield permanently. Israel says it has killed a Hamas commander who oversaw the brutal October 7th attack on Israeli civilians, the attack that sparked the war, and that war is heating up.
The Israel Defense Forces have said this morning that they have struck more than 300 Hamas targets inside Gaza in the last 24 hours or so. And you can see and hear really the ferocity of the battle that is going on there. We're hearing constant airstrikes and outgoing artillery fire from here in Israel. And the pictures that the Israel Defense Forces are releasing now show their infantry troops deep inside Gaza. They're on the ground. At the start of this, they were going in and coming out again, but they're very much dug into their positions now. We're seeing tanks on the beaches of Gaza there, and we're seeing this increasing push from north to south of the Strip as they try to eradicate Hamas.
The BBC's Anna Foster in southern Israel. House Speaker Mike Johnson vowing to bring a standalone Israel aid bill to the floor this week as the Biden administration pushes for a $105 billion package for Israel and Ukraine.
Speaker Johnson said on Sunday that the House will consider aid to Israel in a standalone measure this week and expressed confidence that it would pass with bipartisan support. Such a move would resist President Biden's call for Congress to approve a broader package that also includes aid to Ukraine as well as other national security needs. Acknowledging that Senate Republicans have a similar measure, Speaker Johnson told Fox News on Sunday that the House was planning to move the standalone Israel funding bill this week. The White House this month requested more than $105 billion in national security aid, including over $61 billion to Ukraine, over $14 billion to Israel, and more than $9 billion for humanitarian assistance. Edwin Mora, Washington.
And out of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures 10 points higher, NASDAQ futures up 2 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This decade may be the worst one yet to retire in. That's why you need the most current retirement information. For more than 30 years, Bob Carlson has been helping investors stay ahead of turbulent markets and money-grubbing politicians. Now, more than ever, you need to subscribe to Bob Carlson's Retirement Watch. Bob makes sure his Retirement Watch readers are getting independent advice on all aspects of retirement. It's advice you won't get anywhere else. When you subscribe to Retirement Watch, you'll get 12 months of the newsletter. You'll also get 5 model portfolios. Plus, you'll get immediate access to the Retirement Watch private website with tons of special reports. You'll also get an online spending calculator to help you deal with inflation. Plus, exclusive conference calls with Bob Carlson, answering your retirement questions live, all for as little as $49.95. Try it for 30 days, and if you're not satisfied, cancel and we'll refund your money. Sound fair? Sign up today at retirementelders.com. Retirementelders.com. That's retirementelders.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Tim Jones here to announce that Professional Irrigation Systems is now Pro Outdoor. The change reflects their commitment to the innovation of the industry, expansion of services they offer that our family has used for years. Lawn fertilization, landscape maintenance, outdoor lighting, and of course, irrigation. Their commitment to their customers remains the highest priority. Same team, same awesome equipment, same quality of service you've come to know and love. To learn more about their services, including fall specials, call them 636-565-0196 or anytime 24/7 at ProOutdoor.com. That's ProOutdoor.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up, St. Louis.
Will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
A couple of weeks ago, right before I went on my vacation, Wallet Hub put out a survey that looked at a variety of measurements regarding safety. Obviously, a lot of that had to do with crime, violent crime, law enforcement, all of these things, other factors as well. It wasn't just a crime survey, but it was the most and least safe communities in America.
Looking at cities across the country.
Exactly. 200 or 178 or something like that. And St. Louis came in as the least safe. You know, we talked about that at the time. And of course, we just had the conversation a little bit ago with Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, who's running for governor as well. And we talked about the policy aspect of it when it comes to what the state can be doing as far as whether or not police should go back under state control, all that sort of thing. But it's not just a politics question. Policy does matter. And a lot of what we're dealing with right now is because of the bad policies that we've got. And this isn't just happening in St. Louis. Obviously, we see what's happening around the country. You see the chaos in San Francisco. You see the chaos in Oakland. You see the chaos in Chicago. You see the chaos in New York. And you can just go on and on and on and on and on. And what do all these places have in common? They have pro-criminal, far left policies. Gabe Nadalis is co-founder of Our America, and we'll give you the website and social media information on that here in just a few minutes. But he joins us right now. And Gabe, what's happening in St. Louis isn't unique, other than the fact that St. Louis is maybe a blue dot in a fairly red Midwestern area. But when it comes to this information, the Wallet Hub is saying this is the least safe community in America. What are the underlying reasons that we get to that area, that conclusion here in St. Louis?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head when you said it's not just in St. Louis. But one of the things that we will have to consider that it's not just in New York or DC. A lot of times there's many cities out there that were hit very hard by the defund the police movement that have really made crime worse. We're talking about Tucson in Arizona, Madison, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all these cities that are a little smaller, but unfortunately they get absolutely no media attention. And when the defund the police movement kind of had its heyday, they really did two things. One, they really defunded the police in many instances, which is, you know, that allowed for the police departments to hire fewer officers to be able to patrol the streets. But second, they also created an officer shortage, because many people decided, why would I become an officer if I'm just going to be trashed every time that I put on a uniform? So right now we're having a severe shortage of officers just throughout the country, really, in smaller cities, and that is leading to an increase of crime.
Yeah, so the policy matters, but let me follow up on that last part of what you were just saying, because it's also part of the intangibles, I guess, as well, is that somebody wants to be a police officer, but if they know that not only does the political, element of their community not have their back, if their community doesn't have their back, it's just logical. You're going to rethink going into that line of work.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a story out there that apparently one of the districts in St. Louis, there was 2 officers for that entire district, and both of them called in sick. So now that, that's one of those issues that, like, now for an entire, part of the city, they don't have officers patrolling the street, at least dedicated to that street. They have to be taken over by the county or by some surrounding officers. And when you have this issue that people just don't want to put it in the uniform, people are either not applying to become police officers, or they are retiring early because they don't want to become police officers. And I mean, one of the things that Miami did very astutely, Miami, Florida, is they started giving out bonuses to officers from other departments to go apply to their department. And many officers from New York, they flew over to Miami. They became residents of Miami and Florida because they felt like that state and that city, they really had their back. And I mean, it's one of those things. I remember one of my friends, he's He's a deputy sheriff in Los Angeles County. When he graduated from the academy, there was the LAPD right outside offering like thousands of dollars sign-on bonus just so they can poach off officers. Like it's so many departments that are they're struggling to recruit officers, so they're trying to give incentives. But at some point, money isn't enough. You really have to create a culture of pro-police culture in order to entice officers to want to become officers.
Good morning, Gabriel. Stalpantikas here. So is it fair to say that the safety issue is also contributing to not just citizens moving into the suburbs and the collar counties, but even further out than that, and even to other states where it's changing the demographics of states and our country?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times that people want to move out of the state, but sometimes when I think about like migration between the states, some of the worst communities that are worst hit tend to be minority communities. Because let's look at California. California has one of the highest crime rates in many other cities than the rest of the country. And the people who tend to move out of these cities are people who tend to be a little more affluent, people who on largely tend to be more of the white persuasion. Meanwhile, when you have minorities that are kind of stuck in like 9-to-5 job, who are they're first generation immigrants who don't really have family here, they're kind of stuck there because they don't really know where to go outside of California. And it's something that we see in many places that since some of these more established communities, they have ties throughout the country. They say, well, I'm going to go to Utah. I'm going to go to Arizona. I'm going to go over here. And then a lot of people just get stuck in these cities and they can't leave.
We're visiting with Gabe Nadalis. He is one of the co-founders of Our America, which we'll tell you about here in just a moment. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about talking about it, if that makes any sense here. What I mean by that, Gabe, is you've mentioned the community aspect. You mentioned the connections aspect of it. Yes, the politicians make horrible rules and policy, and you get the expected results from a pro-criminal policy. And that's what we're seeing in St. Louis, and that's what we're seeing in these other cities. But there has to be a groundswell from constituents, whether it's a constituent in a red or blue area, saying we demand that law enforcement be taken seriously. So how do we have those conversations when so many times that has become a partisan and a political framework? If somebody says, what, you want more police? Are you some crazy right-wing conservative? And a liberal can say, no, I just don't want people breaking in my house. How do we have that conversation that crosses sort of those ideological lines?
Well, before we have that conversation, we have to look at the polls specifically, because you're right. Many people think that being pro-police is some sort of right-wing conspiracy or some right-wing talking point. But when you look at the polls, even though Black Lives Matter, for example, or defund the police, Black Lives Matter has like 80% approval rating. Their policies like defund the police have less than 20% approval rating. In fact, study after study shows that 80, 82, 83% of Americans want to fully support the police. So first, you have to come in with the idea that this isn't a right-wing theory or right-wing talking point. This is an American talking point. Americans want police. Americans support the police. Once you start to understand that, you start to have these conversations. We're saying like, no, like, look, this is not a right-wing point. Americans from minorities and even Black Americans, for example, if you survey them, again, it's very reflective of the American well. Like 80% of Americans, African Americans, poll after poll will show that they support police. So I think that really breaks away the talking point that it's some sort of right-wing talking point to be pro-police.
Gabe, do we have any cities around the country, communities around the country that have reversed course, have gone to a more law and order approach, even if it's a more blue area? And are we seeing any results that we can point to say that's what you've got to be doing?
You know, it's sad because when you defund the police, the crime effects are pretty immediate. Like you see just crime skyrocketing, and that's what we saw city after city. But when you try to reverse that, it's not so easy. Now, there have been many cities that are calling for reform, that are calling for more police officers. Washington, D.C. is one example in which the mayor, Bowser, she was recently called for more police officers to patrol the street, particularly in education, in high schools. Well, just a couple of years ago, she was saying that, like, you know, she cut a bunch of jobs from the DC. Same thing with San Francisco. One of the supervisors of the county of San Francisco, she was defunding the police a few years ago, but just earlier this year was begging for more police presence in her district because the crime just was skyrocketing. So we are seeing a reversal of this. We are seeing that Americans are speaking up and demanding more police presence, more safety. But the problem is that it just takes a while to really roll back some of this criminality. I wish it was the same way that when you defund the police, you get more crime. Well, when you fund the police, it takes some time to really decrease the crime rate.
Okay, in Our America, people can find out more about that, where, and then give them kind of the Cliff Notes of what you do.
Sure. I mean, Our America is an organization that's dedicated to fighting for American issues, not as Republicans, or as Democrats, but as Americans for our America. We are tackling issues of cost of living, public safety, as well as freedom of thought, which is speech and religion, and the right to vote.
All right, and the website and social media?
Sure. People can check us out at joinouramerica.org. That's joinouramerica.org. Same thing for social media.
All right, great. Gabe, good to talk to you again. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, 314-912-1019. Cori Bush actually now has a challenger in her race for Congress that she needs to take seriously. And Washington University is now suffering the ire of some left-wing extremists. They just can't go more than a day or two without making somebody mad still.
Boy, they're equal opportunity offenders.
Yes, they are. And I'm here for it. All right, I'll tell you all about that right around 8:20 on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that now? Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
There's information
This week on News Talk STL.
Take a look at what's going on.
To get to the bottom.
News, analysis, opinion.
Democracy is messy sometimes.
From the great state of Louisiana and the 56th Speaker, Mike Johnson.
This has been a long ordeal, but I think we finally have the right leader.
1019 and 94.1.
Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford. The path chosen with respect to Iran means that there's going to be chaos and war in other places in the Middle East.
News Talk STL.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of a taste of that cold weather that will be here for weeks on end once winter sets in. So what's happening right now is, yep, it's cold. I think it got down to about 28 degrees or so a couple hours ago, and it's going to warm back up here in another week or so. But then, you know what? Winter is going to be here. When that cold weather is here, one of the things you may want to do is just run your hand along the windowsill. Run it at the bottom of your front door or your back door. And if you feel that cold air kind of creeping in, that means that your home is not performing the way that it should. And you need to call my friends at Window World. They are simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. You know about their lifetime warranty on all parts, glass, breakage, and labor. You know they use double strength glass. And you know that they are less expensive than even generic single strength basic windows you're going to find at the home improvement store. You're going to spend less money, and they're going to be more energy efficient, and they've got a lifetime warranty, and you never have to worry about replacing them for the life of your home. So give them a call today. Get your free in-home estimate, 314-993-1800. They even offer 18 months same as cash financing with approved credit, making them even easier to buy. But don't go another winter with those. By the way, utility costs are going up again. We know that. And so you heat your home, don't send it out into the front and the backyard. Make sure that your windows are making your home more thermally efficient, which is exactly what Window World windows do. 314-993-1800. WindowWorld.com is where you can get more information. But the best thing to do is just get that in-home, that in-home demonstration. Let them show you what they can do. No pressure. No pressure. They will show you what they can do, show you how they are simply the best for less, leave you to make your own decision. They are the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues, and they are going to make your home perform better. Simply the best for less. One more time, 314-993-1800.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Imagine a firefighter bravely maneuvering through smoke-filled corridors and a police officer tirelessly searching for a missing child in the pitch black of night, illuminated only by the feeble glow of a worn-out flashlight.
Be the light in their darkness and provide new tactical flashlights throughout Missouri by giving just a few volunteer hours of your time.
Volunteer with the David Dorn Foundation to be the guiding force for those who protect us, our first responders. Visit dornfoundation.com now.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5 GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll.
No, I'm not supposed to, but I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
All of a sudden, I'm sitting in a theater.
Very much longer.
Throwing stuff at the stage.
I've got to keep
I don't know if anybody's doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show this year.
Well, since the Tivoli got sold
to
a local church, I don't know if anybody's going to be doing it or not. You would think some theater would pick up on it.
I thought the one out there was the St. Andrews one out there off of I-70. They used to do it, but I haven't seen anything about it this year.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that place survived the pandemic or not,
I
to
don't
be
know.
honest with you.
Yeah, they were struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you know of anybody doing Rocky Horror Picture Show tonight,
let us know.
Let me know. Give me something to do so I can avoid the trick-or-treaters at my house. All right, Cori Bush is being primaried. Get the popcorn. Not just primaried, she could lose her seat to another leftist, but she could lose her seat. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. By the way, at 8:35, I want to go into more depth on that. Get your thoughts on that. Also, is the push by some conservatives to cut off any aid to Gaza too much of a reaction to Hamas's terrorist war against Israel? I don't think so, but I'm open to your opinion on that as well. And Washington University now faces heat from leftists. See, Washington University offers something for everyone to hate. They butcher children in their clinic until they run the risk of being sued. And they're actually fighting to try to be able to do that again. And now the left is mad at them. All right. 8:23 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Stell Ponticus. All right. Here's what's going on. Cori Bush now has a challenger that she has to worry about. I mean, she has to take seriously. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell dropping his Senate campaign that was absolutely certain to lose if he were the nominee. He would have lost to Josh Hawley, just like Lucas Kuntz is going to lose to Josh Hawley. But instead, Wesley Bell now running for Cori Bush's seat in the U.S. House.
But over the last several weeks, as I've campaigned around the state, I've heard one refrain from Democrats above all else. We need you in Washington, but St. Louis needs you in the House of Representatives.
I actually, because politicians, as we know, Stell, they try to do a lot of that humble brag, self-aggrandizing sort of thing. But I actually believe that he probably did hear a lot of that saying, listen, you can't win the Senate race. It ain't going to happen, but it is possible to beat Cori Bush.
I bet he had folks coming up to him and just on the sly making the comment. And to be honest with you, I feel like you do and like Gabe does. This is a good thing. I think even though we totally disagree on probably 99% of where both of those candidates stand politically, I'm totally on board with Wesley getting in there.
Right. So, listen, the Republicans are likely to have one of the things the Republicans are doing in the first district is they do have some potential very credible candidates. But let's be honest, this is a deep blue district. They've drawn the lines in order to try to protect the Democrats as much as they possibly can in the first district. So I'm not saying that if Wesley Bell were to beat Cori Bush, that suddenly we'd have a voice in. We're not if he wins. But if he wins that primary, we rid the Congress and we rid the country of one of the most hateful, anti-Semitic, bigoted, extremist Congress members in the entire U.S. House. I mean, she is every bit as fringe radical as Rashida Tlaib, as AOC, as any of these people. So I want to go into more depth in about 10 minutes or so, but mark my words right now, this is possible. He actually could beat her. So 314-912-1019, or give me your thoughts. I'm watching the Rumble chat box. Stell, you can watch the Facebook chat as well, or comments. So let us know what you think, but give me a call, 314-912-1019. Okay, so the strike against GM and other news could be close to ending, maybe. We had a very enlightening conversation about that with Stephen Moore, President Trump's former economic advisor. And so here in just a few hours or so, you can hear that on our podcast. Now, we don't know what this all means for the Wentzville plant right now because the details are still being negotiated, and then the union would still have to ratify. And remember, the Wentzville plant was the first target of the auto workers union that's been about 6 weeks ago, I guess it was.
Yes.
Multiple reports now say the latest offer by the company includes 25% raises in wages at least. More vacation time, more pension benefits, also a faster track to the higher paying echelons. But it looks like the union is not getting their demand to get all of that and only have employees work part-time hours as well, because that's one of the things that they wanted like a 40% increase in wages. They wanted more job security. They wanted more retirement contributions, and they only wanted to work 30 hours
a week. 32 hours a week,
which was stupid. But they're not going to get the part-time hours thing. So if they're going to get these massive 40% raises, you actually have to go to work and work for that. So we'll see how that goes, but it looks like the union is going to accept that, and then they'll probably ratify that in the next few days or so. Okay, Senator Ted Cruz, he is introducing legislation demanding sanctions on Hamas as the Biden administration continues to hand out hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to the Gaza area. Senator Cruz was on Fox Business Network's The Evening Edit with Elizabeth McDonald, and here's what he means by that.
Senator Joe Biden, hundreds of millions of dollars have flowed to Gaza. Gaza is controlled by Hamas, and that money from the Biden administration in a very direct way is funding the death squads, is funding the rockets. We need to cut all of that off.
Cruz also pointed out that the money that is being released to Iran, which backs Hamas, which funds Hamas, we're talking $6 billion as part of that prisoner exchange, is part of the problem. Of course, the White House says those funds have not been accessed at all, without pointing out that, hey, if they know you're about to get a great big paycheck, sometimes you put something on the credit card and forward money to other people as well. So I have no doubt that the sanctions would probably go through the House right now. I don't know if those sanctions would go through the Senate, just because Democrats do not want to embarrass the president right now. But any funding you send to Gaza, which is completely controlled by Hamas, at least until Israel can get in there and the IDF can clear out Hamas, right now, anything you send into there is going to end up at least partially in the hands of Hamas. So you've got to, I think Senator Cruz is right, and you need to cut that off completely. And the suffering that's happening is because of Hamas. You could also say that Hezbollah is involved in that as well. And you could also say that Iran's involved in that. But you've got all these protests saying Israel is killing the people or making people suffer. No, Hamas is doing that. Don't fall for it. Okay, Washington University facing a legal complaint by some students and faculty over its investment portfolio. This is interesting. The activists are demanding that the already left-wing university divest from anything related to fossil fuels. They claim that WashU has about $625 million in stock investments related to fossil fuels in their endowment fund. University is one of many being targeted by protests and lawsuits over investments like these. The legal complaint claims that the stock holdings are illegal because the activists are arguing fossil fuels are bad and racist or something like that. So they've actually sent their complaint to Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who says this whole ESG investing thing is stupid and you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. So they're going to complain to the guy who says, no, we're not using government to make you invest in an ESG mindset. So I'm not sure what they think they're going to get from this.
And you know what the funny thing is, from my perspective, a lot of folks have to deal with this on a personal basis, because if there's stuff that you would like to move your money out of, if you have issues with certain companies, it's tough to do that if you're in mutual funds and you're in other funds where these stocks are buried in there and it's 4, 5, 6% of a mutual fund. You got to try to figure out, how am I going to move out of that and go into another one? And then you got to find one that you totally agree with. So it's not easy.
Well, and a mutual fund, you either sell the mutual fund itself or you don't.
Yeah.
Now, if they own direct stock in it or, something along
That's
those lines,
a little different.
It's different, but you also then have the taxes and the fees on those transactions as well.
Mm-hmm.
So really what you have are a bunch of professors and a bunch of students. And I know Washington University is in theory the, Ivy League of the Midwest. But college kids are stupid. Okay. They don't know anything. They have no life experience. And what they have is their ideology and they have their feelings. And it's not as simple as they think. Listen, I don't care what happens to Washington University's endowment fund. It can go belly up for all I care. I couldn't care less what Washington University does. But I just think it's hilarious after they constantly virtue signal to the hard left that they're getting kicked in the shin by the hard left. I just think it's a joyful thing right now. All right. Finally here, Rangers take a 2-1 lead over the Diamondbacks in the World Series last night. Final score in Phoenix last night, 3-1. Game 4 happens tonight. That one is also in the desert. First pitch is at 7:03. Very low rated World Series when it comes to TV viewing. And that's unfortunate because this has been a fun one to watch.
These have been 3 good games. The first one was awesome. Extra inning win by the Rangers.
Yep.
Diamondbacks came back. And then last night, the Rangers, despite Scherzer getting a tight back, and you would know what that feels like.
Oh, I do right now.
Had to leave the game early, and the Rangers still won.
All right, just ahead, Corey Bush. Could she actually lose? Yeah.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Your Halloween forecast, more trick than treat this year as high temperatures fall about 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. 44 should do it for the high, but windy at times, so the wind chill in the 30s. Trick-or-treaters, the sun sets at 6:03, temperatures dropping from 40s into 30s and wind chills from 30s into the 20s. I'm forecasting a low of 26 tonight, which would tie the record. Wednesday, sunny and just a little warmer, up to 49. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
An exorcist warns against using Ouija boards. I'm Tommy Lahren, and I'll tell you why next.
Ashley Banfield and Chris Cuomo on America's fastest growing cable news network, News Nation.
The viewer seems to have been lost in the shuffle of cable news lately. They don't want a team sport. They want the full picture.
The appetite is greater than it has ever been for perspective, for understanding, and for information that they can not just trust, but use.
See why more people are turning to News Nation, news for all America. To find News Nation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
In America, while there's nothing scarier than the Democrat agenda and their shadow government, in the spirit of Halloween, here's another thing besides voting Democrat that you ought to avoid: Ouija boards. Ouija boards have been around since the 19th century and have been used as parlor games. The board itself has the full alphabet, the words yes, no, goodbye, and the numbers 0 through 9. Users operate the board using a planchette, and spirits supposedly take over from there when invited and ask questions. But Catholic priest and exorcism specialist Father Dan Rehill says it is spiritually dangerous to attempt to reach out to the underworld, and it's not all fun and games when you invite spirits into your life. He said opening yourself up to these practices can make you susceptible to demonic activity, whether that's your goal or not. So to keep yourself safe this Halloween, toss the Ouija board, say a prayer, and if you really want to secure your soul, perhaps reconsider voting for Democrats. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey, Alexa, Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 1019, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home.
There's a lot of people who just think real estate agents charge too much money, but if the real estate agent is on your side, they're going to work with you, but they still deserve to make a living for the services they provide, but it's not going to be cost prohibitive. That's why you need to call my friends Rodney and Jen. Mike Ferguson here for the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. Wallner team offering flexible commission plans to meet your needs. They've got so many approved home buyers. Listen, they guarantee that you are going to get an offer on your home. Wallner team lists and sells upwards of 15 times more homes than the typical realtor does in any given year. And this is crucial right now. They are licensed in both Missouri and in Illinois. Now listen, Rodney and Jen, yes, husband and wife team. You get a family perspective when selling your home, not just the perspective of an agent, not just one agent who follows a company line. They know this market. They get to know the people that they serve because they fight for you. Listen, no obligation, no long-term commitment. You change your mind, something changes in your circumstances, no problem. You part friends and they go on and help somebody else and you do what you want to do. So give them a call today. 314-810-SOLD. That's the number I call when I talk to them, by the way. 314-810-SOLD. Rodney or Jen will pick up, or they will call you right back if they're on the phone with somebody else, and they will answer your questions. So I challenge you, call them today, 314-810-SOLD, in order to just say, here's my situation. What do you think? And you're going to be as impressed with them as I am. So give Rodney or Jen a call today at that number, 314-810-SOLD, and find out why it's so different having Rodney or Jen fight for you and your family, because selling or buying a home is too important to leave it to a lesser agency who doesn't understand this market. 314-810-SOLD.
Dealing with storm damage? Don't panic. Eureka Contracting and Roofing is here to help. With the recent storms, they understand it can be overwhelming. Remember, you don't have to rush into signing with the first door-to-door salesman. Don't let pushy sales tactics force you into a contract you're not comfortable with. Before making decisions, take a moment. Give the folks at Eureka Contracting and Roofing a call like I did for a no-pressure inspection. They'll assess the damage, determine if it's insurable. If it is, they'll guide you through the insurance process, and your only out-of-pocket expense will be your deductible. Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF, eurekacontracting.com.
Steph's Pizza is on the move to Lake St. Louis. That's right, you can now get the legendary Steph's Pizza and Pasta in Lake St. Louis, 111 Pond Fort Trail. Steph's Pizza, where Mondays you get a large pizza for the price of a small, and it just got more convenient for pickup or delivery in Lake St. Louis. Steph's Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley on Long Road, in St. Peter's on Jungerman, and now in Lake St. Louis at 111 Pond Fort Trail. Check them out at stephspizza.com. Tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
Remember when the song came out?
84.
Yeah. I had, you were doing music radio in 84,
Yes.
right? You were well
Yeah,
into
198,
your,
yeah.
you were well into your music career. There were some radio stations that were playing this twice an hour. It was so popular.
Probably.
Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah. In fact, we may have been playing it on 198 at the top of every hour because there were some songs that got that type of airplay, which is hard to fathom now. But then again,
goodness, no.
Yeah, that was 84 for when the movie came out, the movie soundtrack.
Yeah, great movie. All right, it is 8:30, almost 8:39. That's Del. I'm Mike. Cori Bush has got something to worry about. Now, we bash Cori Bush's policies a lot here because they deserve it. And yes, I attack her character because She's wide open to that because she has proven to be not just somebody who's wrong on the issues, because there are people who are sincere and are good people who are simply wrong on all the issues. She's a bad person. She's anti-Semitic, I believe. She is bigoted. I think she is hateful. I do not think you can be a Marxist and a good person at the same time. I think you have to be one or the other because Marxism is such a hateful, oppressive mindset. We know she's a liar, but she is fringe. She is radical. She's got her fist in the air, and that fires up a lot of the hard left base. And so there are people who were settling into an idea that, well, she's a nutcase, but there's nothing we can do about it. She's in a deep blue area, never going to get rid of her. And then Wesley Bell announces yesterday that he is not going to run for U.S. Senate after all. He's going to run for U.S. House, and he's primarying Cori Bush. So here's what you're probably going to end up seeing. You are going to see a DNC establishment versus a DNC radical grassroots sort of conflict. And when I say the establishment, I mean the people who are worried about the Democratic candidates all over the country. They're going to line up behind Wesley Bell. And when I talk about the grassroots radicals, I'm talking about the BLM protesters that go tearing down fences and throwing bricks at mayors' houses and who instigate violence around the country. Those are the people behind somebody like Cori Bush. Because right now what's happening is the majority of the Democratic Party in Missouri is based in St. Louis. Obviously, we know it's Kansas City and St. Louis, but there's more in St. Louis than there is in Kansas City. And the harder to the left, the more dedicated they are to Cori Bush being in office. And the city of St. Louis suffers because Cori Bush is the congresswoman. The entire Democratic Party suffers because Cori Bush is the congresswoman. I am telling you right now, Stell, the Republican National Committee wants Cori Bush to win re-election. The RNC wants Cori Bush to win re-election. You know why? Because all they have to do is put up her sound bites and her statements on Fox and Newsmax and put them on their social media ads and point out just how crazy the far left is gone and the far left is running the Democratic Party. So they want Cori Bush in that office. But what we're concerned about here is who's going to be the best representative of the St. Louis area. And I don't think a Democrat's going to do a good job with that. But now the Democrats have a choice between a fringe, unhinged leftist or somebody who actually may be wrong on issues.
But he is hinged.
He's hinged. Yes, Wesley Bell is hinged. Does that mean I'm endorsing Wesley Bell? No, listen, I know Wesley Bell. I don't know him well, but you know, I've interviewed him a couple times. He's an acquaintance. I think he and my wife are friends more than he and I, because I've just only talked to him a few times. But he's a smart guy.
He handles himself well.
Oh,
in public.
Yeah, he does. And he is a smart guy. He recognizes that the squad and the defund the police thing, not only is it bad, the results are bad, although I think he is not as pro law enforcement as I'd like to see him, but he's not on board with the defund the police. And he also knows that it is killing Democrats across the country right now in a political sense.
And as we had talked about before, to look back on what happened with Cori Bush beating Lacey Clay,
right? Which,
as someone who lived in that district for 53 years, that was a bit of a total shock.
Complete shock.
And to see how we've progressed from there and how she's associated almost every single time with the squad. And it's always AOC and Tlaib and the other ones and Cori Bush. And boy, that makes it so awkward to talk with folks in other parts of the country when they know, oh yeah, your congresswoman is one of those squad members,
that's
right? Yeah, that's her.
You remember in that campaign, two election cycles in a row, because she ran against Lacey Clay and lost the first time. But AOC came to the district and campaigned for her. And then she did that again. And you may say, oh, well, that's what, radicals, weirdos do. But when you have a sitting member of Congress going to campaign against another sitting member of Congress in your own party, that was a big deal. And then Cori Bush actually wins and shocked the country. And then, of course, she releases a book, which nobody actually believes that she wrote herself.
Mm-hmm.
And it flopped. I mean, there was almost no sales of this. Nobody cares what she has to say. And she's a proven liar. So then you've got the question of what happens in this Democratic primary. And I would never make a prediction because I think there's so many variables. But the fact of the matter is this, I am telling you, it is absolutely possible that Wesley Bell can beat Cori Bush in this primary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think looking back at that situation with Lacey Clay, what happened to Lacey Clay after that? The guy kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he got on, I'm sure, a bunch of boards and commissions. I'm sure he's cashing in on the Clay name. I doubt that he's having any problem paying his rent. Let's put it that way. But
politically, he just kind of fell off the map.
Oh, yeah, completely. And with Wesley Bell, here's what you have. You have a young leftist, a young liberal. I mean, I like the term leftist better, but he's young, he's smart. He is a prosecutor, which is a voters like as well. He has stayed out of a huge amount of controversy. He does have some credibility with the radicals because remember, he tried to help Kimberly Gardner, tried to help her stay in office. She tried to hand over her office to him illegally, but he stayed out of the fray. But we know that he was consulting with her and he was in her office and he was talking to her. So we know that Wesley Bell, he speaks the language of the radical fringe left. We know that he does that, but he's a smart guy.
And he beat Bob McCullough.
He beat Bob McCullough, and that shocked everybody. And you also remember he had some extremist fringe elements paying for ads for him in that Democratic primary. So Cori Bush got into office by upsetting an establishment candidate who'd been there forever. Wesley Bell got into office by upsetting an establishment candidate. So now you've got two people who have upset establishment candidates who are going to be in a primary. And I think that you're probably going to see a scorched earth campaign from Cori Bush like you've never seen before. She says she's very disappointed that he would challenge her. He says, hey, nothing personal, but you're bad for this community. And he's right, even though I'm going to disagree with him on probably, like you said, 90% of the issues.
Is it fair to wonder where the post-disgrace is going to come down?
Boy, that's going to be interesting.
On their editorial page?
Yeah, or the Riverfront Times.
Oh, yeah, the RFT.
Or any of those.
Yeah.
That's going to be fascinating. I didn't even think about that. They're probably having a brain-splitting headache right now.
They're having a staff meeting right now.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how are we going to handle this.
Yeah. Oh, man, this is going to be fascinating to watch. All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Who you gonna call?
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
Who you gonna call?
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Well, it's fall, y'all. Time to give Hanson's Tree Service a call this fall, 636-379-1830, 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com. Fall is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds with that fantastic organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's. What else should you do? How about clear out all the overhanging trees, get rid of all the old stumps, generally clean up the homestead as we head towards Old Man Winter. They're standing by to help you today, 636-379-1830, or 24/7, always available at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
I have only one recommendation for you when it comes to jewelry. Vincent's Jewelers. I've had Vincent's custom make some pieces for me. I bought quality pieces right out of the case. Vincent's locally owned, supporting local charities for more than 42 years. Check their website daily for new items or specials. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Give Vincent's a chance for your business. Vincent's, my only jeweler.
I'm Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Buy Missouri promotes hundreds of businesses that manufacture quality products right here in Missouri. Visit buymissouri.net to find Missouri-made products, manufacturers, and retailers near you. Shop local every day, but especially during Buy Missouri Week, October 14th through the 21st. Together, we can support Missouri businesses and grow our state's economy. Visit buymissouri.net and follow @BuyMissouri on social media for more information.
Brought to you by the Missouri Lieutenant Governor's Office. I heard the call to serve, so I answered. I earned a title and discovered my purpose. I found belonging, an unbreakable bond with my fellow Marines. We fought to overcome adversity together in defense of our nation and its people. I've lived a full life, rich with meaning. And even though I no longer wear the uniform, I am still a Marine. My service has come full circle. I will always look after those around me. I will always uplift and support my country and my community. Because that is the promise I made. That is what it means to be a Marine. Semper Fidelis. Always faithful, always Marine.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
State Senator Nick Schroer laid out every reason why we should all vote for Donald Trump for president. We'll go through all that Tuesday at 9:05 with the state senator himself.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. Make sure you join me and my buddy Chris Arps this afternoon from 4 until 6 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Right now, let's get back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Catch my breath. Close my eyes.
Still, I just looked at the Babylon Beats Twitter page.
Okay.
The headline, I haven't read the article yet. The headline, toddler with full diaper and incoherent speech goes as Joe Biden for Halloween.
The bee or not the bee?
Oh, my goodness. All right, so look up Babylon Bee. You want to see that? Jeez. By the way, News Talk STL, Americans for Prosperity, we are teaming up for the next presidential debate. And I'd love to meet you there at it November 8th, coming up here in just over a week. And GOP presidential debate is going to be on the big screen at the Westport Playhouse there at the Westport Plaza. The Mike Ferguson, the morning team is going to be there. Tim Jones, Chris Arps going to be there. Of course, Vic Porcelli, Columbo, Katie going to be reporting on air. Doors are going to open up at 6 o'clock. Program starts, including a really cool interactive discussion that we're all going to have. And I say us, I mean us and you. That's going to happen at 6:30. The debate, obviously, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, so we can cheer or even jeer the ones we don't like. So the tickets are free, but you need to get one because there is going to be food catered in, free food from the Drunken Fish. And of course, there's going to be a cash bar as well. So check out AmericansForProsperity.com. But the best way to find that link is just go to newstalkstl.com. So November 8th, we would love to meet you there. We're all going to be there. You should be as well. All right, 8:52 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Estelle Ponticus here. So Cori Bush is getting a primary challenger, and she does not have a lot of money on hand. I'm not going to get into the fundraising thing because that's kind of wonky and stuff. But the reality is what we're going to find out is just where that Democratic base really is. Are they willing to say, okay, you've gone too far. We need to bring in somebody who's still pretty far to the left, but who is not out there being an absolute nutcase. I don't know what they're going to decide. Got Matt here on the line. Hey, Matt, you're part of the show right now. Thanks for being on. What do you think?
Awesome. Thank you much for having me on. I think Wesley Bell wins.
I think it's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very possible.
But for your listening audience, my question is this. Apply the same question for the right.
Mm-hmm.
Apply the same question for Donald Trump, for this new Speaker of the House, for Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like the Democrats have, for the most part, realized this is too nuts. They're going to censure the other squad members over their comments about Israel. It seems to me that the Democratic Party is inching towards the center a bit more, and the Republican Party is not.
That could very well be. I've been arguing for, I think the whole time we've been on the air, that the Republicans should stop listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene and should try to do as much as they can to ignore her. I think she's a nutcase, and I think they shouldn't.
Right.
Now, I do think the Democrats tend to look around during election years and go, oh, crap, why are people so mad at us right now? Well, because the fringe is running them right now. is what's happening. So, I mean, you could very well be right that that Wesley Bell wins. And if he does that, that shows that the Democratic Party, at least in the Midwest, is looking around saying, yeah, this fringe is not good for us.
Right. So do you think this race is going to have national implications?
I don't know if it's going to have national implications, but I think that if Cori Bush loses, I think the Republicans lose a source of fundraising, because they just show her clips and then they go to every other purple district around the country and say, this is what the Democrats do. So I think the national Republicans actually want Cori Bush in there. And locally in St. Louis, you've got the community saying, can you please get somebody in there who can at least represent us?
I think that's a great question, Matt. Will there be national implications?
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, that's interesting to think about.
I agree wholeheartedly. And again, same question. I mean, the flip is that for the Democrats, all Democrats have to do is put on clips of Donald Trump. They just have to put on clips of January 6th. And that's enough to also sway over moderate independent voters in purple districts. It seems to me like the Republicans are stuck with Donald Trump, for better or for worse. I don't think that's a winner for him moving forward.
Yeah, that's been effective for them the last, 2, maybe 3, 2 election cycles. I think that has been.
3 election cycles has been effective.
Yeah, I think it has. And of course, the debate, coming up here, I think is going to be interesting. I think that there are candidates more electable than Donald Trump to the general public. And I think the Republicans are going to have to work harder if they do actually nominate Donald Trump, which it looks like they're going to do.
I think it's a loss no matter who's running against Donald Trump, honestly.
Yeah, we're going to find out probably within the next 4 or 5 months. I think it'll be early next year before we know for sure. But yeah, it could look that way. And I'm just guessing, Matt, it sounds like you're a little farther to the left than maybe a lot of people listen to talk radio.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm definitely a Democrat.
All right. Hey, man. Yeah. But no, I appreciate you calling in.
I feel like looking at politics the way I looking at, football. Like, I have a favorite football team, but I can strategically break down why, my New Orleans Saints are not a very good football team.
Or my Chicago Bears.
Ooh, and we got each other next week, don't we?
Oh, is that happening next week?
I think you might be right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, at the Dome next week.
Yeah, see, I'm safe. I just say, hey, Battlehawks, caw.
Caw. All right.
There it is, man. Hey, Matt, appreciate you being on the show. See, I love it when somebody got the other perspective gets involved in the conversation here as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks so much. So when you look at let me go back to the Wesley Bell and Cori Bush thing. This, I don't even know if it's a litmus test for the Democrats, but anytime you've got a presidential election cycle, they want to try to appeal to that middle that decides the elections. And people like Cori Bush make it really hard for them to do that. And so she, generally speaking, isn't going to necessarily have anything to worry about from a Republican, although Republicans are going to have credible candidates out there. I think they'll nominate somebody very credible that people should look at. But that's not the real threat. Now you've got a prosecutor who is a former city councilman, who is young, who is very smart, who can talk to all elements of their base. She's got a lot to worry about.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way just ahead right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, and welcome home to News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
We cannot give up on peace. We cannot give up on a two-state solution.
Another morning marked by death and destruction in Gaza City.
Our maneuvers are going to take the war into their territory. This is News Talk STL.
Police are currently searching for a Robert R. Card.
18 people lost their lives.
Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We're thrilled to be here.
And newstalkstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest